Chapter 73. Qingguang was confused. Ha! You're still acting, aren't you? Do you believe that I will send you in for another 48 hours to assist in the investigation? Wu Tong gritted her teeth. She had the urge to chop someone up when she thought of what happened today. She followed this idiot around the city in the afternoon. Not only was she exhausted, but she also felt that she was as stupid as a pig. It was not easy for her to stop him here, but she became his shield and helped him avoid a disaster. Otherwise, who knows how badly this guy would have been beaten up. I'm a good person, giving warmth to the community. Wu Tong did not know that after she fainted, not only did Qingguang stop Brother Scar and his men, but he also extorted a sum of money from them. She only thought that her colleagues came to her rescue in time. After all, she did wake up when she heard the sirens. When she opened her eyes, she saw her colleagues jumping out of their cars, and Qingguang was surrounded by them with an innocent look. The more Wu Tong thought about it, the more she felt wronged. She could not accept it and she could not die in peace. Qingguang was stunned by her words. She could really send him in for 48 hours. Every second of my time is precious. How can I waste it in there? I can't fight back. Qingguang grinned. I was just joking with you. This debt could not be denied. It's just that I only have my card with me. I don't have any cash. Qingguang held onto his pocket and lied. Wu Tong looked as if she had seen through him. She took out her phone from her pocket. PayPal transfer. Don't tell me that you don't have a PayPal when you're a university student. Qingguang continued to lie. I really don't have any. On the other side, Brother Scar and his men were all obediently waiting to be captured. Wang Long had nothing to do. He came over and took out something from his pocket. I have a Lakera phone card reader here. You can swipe your bank card directly. Damn it. Why are you police officers? Why don't you open a bank? This time he really couldn't deny it. Qingguang could only take out his bank card and swipe it for Wu Tong. However, as soon as she woke up, she was in the mood to settle the debt. The blow on her head just now didn't seem to matter, so she was relieved. That was right. Unreasonable Tong Tong would not be easily killed. According to the nature of television dramas, the amnesia buff would definitely be triggered after being hit in the head. Fortunately, this was not a television drama. Chief Ding came over and wanted Wu Tong to go to the hospital for a checkup. But Wu Tong felt embarrassed today, so she waved her hand. It's just a small injury. It's not a big deal. The case is more important. Chief Ding, you've worked hard. Please escort these suspects back first. I'll talk to Qingguang for a bit before heading back to the station. Today we must investigate this contract murder case thoroughly. Brother Scar, who was about to be escorted into the car, couldn't take it anymore. He quickly turned around and howled, "What do you mean by hiring a killer? Don't make such a big hat. It was just hurting people." Hurting people. Eyeglasses Wu raised her head and looked at the waning moon in the sky. She looked like she didn't want to know Brother Scar. Brother, can you be more straightforward? I think they don't need to interrogate you. They just used a little trick to scare you and you'll confess everything? When the escort car and police cars gradually went away, Wang Long was left sitting in Wu Tong's Wrangler. Wu Tong looked at Qingguang with a complicated expression. Qingguang's heart thumped. Could it be that she still has feelings for him? I have to nip this scary bud in the bud. Are your injuries really okay? I was scared just now. Hey, why is it that the words coming out of my mouth and my heart are completely different? My heart doesn't want it, but my body is too honest. Wu Tong shook her head. It's not a big deal. I just happened to be hit in the temple. I didn't feel it when I recovered. That guy with a scar on his face is too shameless. He actually used a weapon to sneak attack me. Otherwise I wouldn't have lost. Yeah, he's too shameless. I can roughly guess who hired someone to do this. Don't worry, I'll give you an explanation. This kind of behavior is challenging the bottom line of the law enforcers. If everyone takes revenge, what's the use of the law? Qingguang nodded. Yeah. Let's uphold the dignity of the law. But Pan Zhang's father seems to be the vice president of some construction company. He's quite powerful. How do you know it's Pan Zhang's family? Wu Tong was shocked. Qingguang covered his head. Sister, I got into Gokyo University fair and square. I scored more than 640 points in the college entrance examination. I'm not stupid. Can you not question my intelligence? That's true. Apart from that, Pan Zhang's attempted rape also needs to be explained to the female victim. We can settle these two matters together, Wu Tong said. Qingguang was puzzled. Didn't you say that he didn't commit a crime? Now you're... Wu Tong snorted. But I didn't say that I'll let him get away with it. Why should I explain to you what I do? Anyway, go back to your school and be a good student. I can at least guarantee that you won't be harassed by Pan Zhang's family anymore. Qin Guang was amused. That's great. Thanks a lot. Seeing that he was about to leave, Wu Tong looked at his car and suddenly remembered something. Oh yeah, let me ask you. Why are you driving around the city in broad daylight? Don't tell me. Wu Tong wanted to ask him if he noticed that she was following him. Scratching his head, Qin Guang waved his phone and replied, Nothing much. My mom is sick and needs medication. It's tens of thousands of yuan a month. I usually work and study to earn some money. It's not easy for me to save up a little more than 10,000 yuan. Doesn't that mean I have to pay you a fine of 10,000 yuan? That's for my mom's medication. I have no choice but to make a few more trips to get the money as soon as possible. His words were half-truths. His motive was simple. Seeing that she was a good person and had taken his money, he would be happy if he could make her feel a little guilty. Wu Tong was stunned. You're on the internet? My liver hurts. My stomach hurts too. No wonder he had been wandering around the city all day. He was running the internet. How could I be so stupid? Oh no, my blood sugar is low and I'm feeling dizzy. Wu Tong's face was black as she laid on the Wrangler's passenger seat. However, she understood why Qin Guang was so determined to renege on his debt. It turned out that his family was in such a difficult situation. This was his mom's medication. Come to think of it, I was too much. A hateful person must have a pitiful side. Wu Tong indeed felt guilty. When she looked at him again, she was much more pleasing to the eye. She thought to herself, a filial man can't be that bad, right? She stuck her head out of the window and said to Qin Guang, who was wiping the front windshield with a rag, How about I return the money to you first? Just take it as a loan. Qin Guang shook his head. It's okay. I'll figure it out myself later. Okay, then I'll go. Wu Tong waved at Qin Guang and gestured for Wang Long to drive. Wang Long whispered, You like him, right? Wu Tong rolled her eyes. He's just a kid. How can I like him? Stop joking. Yesterday, I must have gone crazy and taken the wrong medicine. I was going to beat him up today to vent my anger, but I ran into those ignorant hooligans and ruined my plan. Wang Long only smiled and didn't say anything. He thought to himself, even if Brother Scar and the others weren't around, she wouldn't have been able to do it. Why don't you think about what you were like yesterday? On the other hand, Wu Tong knew that the feeling from yesterday might be brief, but it left a deep impression on her. When she recalled it, her face would still turn red, and her heartbeat would quicken by 10% when she spoke to Qin Guang earlier. It wasn't much, but she was sure that it was faster than usual. She thought to herself, what the hell? How could I like this guy? There's no reason. Unfortunately, no matter how much she quibbled and denied it, she didn't say anything harsh to Qin Guang in the end, even though she had come with the intention of taking revenge. There was already a crack on the ice wall. When the wind blew, the crack would gradually grow and spread until the high wall collapsed. On the other side, Wu Tong and Wang Long returned to the Wenxing branch office. Qin Guang wiped the front windshield and drove the car to the auto repair shop near the school. It was much cheaper than the 4S shop and he could also get insurance. He took a taxi back to school and weighed the money in his pocket. He estimated that there was a net profit of about 10,000. Not bad. I seem to have forgotten something? Is it to help those people plead for Wu Tong? Come on, it's already good enough that I didn't hit them when they were down. Plead for them? I'm not a saint. After tricking Brother Scar and the others, Qin Guang didn't have any psychological burden at all. He happily returned to the dormitory. He didn't know that Pan Zhang's family was in big trouble. Wu Tong was really angered by Pan Zhang's family. Chapter 74. Early the next morning, Qin Guang was woken up by his phone ringing. He opened his eyes in a daze and looked at the time. It was only 8 o'clock in the morning. He picked up the phone and impatiently said, Who is it? If you have something to report to me, if not, get lost. I will kill you with a mouthful of salt soda. Go downstairs. Hurry up. I don't have time to waste with you, I'm waiting for you to assist in the investigation. Wu Tong's annoying voice came from the phone. At this moment, Qin Guang was speechless. He wondered if he had been possessed recently. This policewoman, you're still haunting me, right? Don't you know you're very annoying? What's wrong with me? Big sister, don't you know you're annoying? Didn't I give you the money? Can we not contact each other in the future? Qin Guang said what he thought. This time, Qin Guang was very honest. On the other side of the call, Wu Tong's face was so pale that water could be squeezed out. I'll count to 3. If you still don't come down, I'll shout from below your dormitory. Qin Guang, you heartless bastard. How can you not care after getting someone pregnant? Qin Guang's drowsiness instantly disappeared. If she really did that, he would be on the front page of the school forum tomorrow. How could he raise his head in the future? Don't. I'll be right down. Rolling out of bed, he hurriedly comforted the phone. That's more like it. I'm asking you to cooperate with the investigation, not asking for your life. Your classmate Sun Xiaoxuan is also here. Today we will close the case of Pan Dehai and Pan Zhang's attempted rape. Isn't this helping you? Wu Tong spat and then hung up the phone. Sun Xiaoxuan, who was at the side, opened his mouth and looked at her as if he saw a ghost. Wu Tong proudly raised her eyebrows at Sun Xiaoxuan. What did you just say? You said he can't get up so early? I think it's quite simple. This man, as long as you find his weakness, it's very easy to deal with him. Sun Xiaoxuan, you're still young. You have to learn more. Sun Xiaoxuan turned his face away. He felt that it was a bit embarrassing to stand with this policewoman. At the same time, his heart was already on guard. It seems that I have another rival in love? 3 minutes later, Qin Guang went downstairs. Wu Tong couldn't stop laughing at the teacup in his hand. Don't you think it's shameful for a man to carry such a sissy cup all day long? Qin Guang was too lazy to bother with her. He turned his face away and smiled at Sun Xiaoxuan. In Guang's hospital, Pan Dehai was sitting next to Pan Zhang's bed. Night surgery was successful. His son's surgery. Sun, Wang Hai Wang, Ching, Wang Sun, Guer, I, Wang, up, 100 to letting these two, I cost. By I too. I was he, to say. With. I tion I up by with he. Of he, and hill. He. They haven't called to report the situation. Maybe they think it's too easy and not worth mentioning? Pan Dehai didn't think that Wang Scar and Wu would take the money and not do anything. His Tongyun construction company had a lot of influence in Guang, and there were many opportunities to cooperate with them. They wouldn't offend him over this small amount of money. Pan Jiang noticed Pan Dehai's expression. Dad, what are you laughing at? Pan Dehai shook off the dust on his suit. Wait for a while. You can call your classmate and ask about Qin Guang. Pan Jiang's eyes lit up. Did they make a move? Pan Dehai nodded. Of course. How can I let the person who injured my son live a comfortable life? Does he think he can get away with paying the medical bills? Dream on. The Pan family doesn't need this bit of money. Pan Dehai remembered the pretty policewoman announcing Qin Guang's punishment in front of him, and he was very unhappy. That kid was actually acquitted? Pay the compensation and get away with it? This result was simply a slap in the face to the dignified Pan Dehai. Although he didn't understand why his connections didn't work, maybe it was the policewoman's fault. But it didn't matter. Just detaining him or giving him a 1-year sentence was too easy on him. That kid hit my son so he can pay the compensation and get away with it. I can also let someone else turn that kid into a half-eunuch. This is much more interesting than a sentence, and I don't even have to pay the compensation. How's the fight? Pan Jiang asked with a grin. He was in a good mood. His balls, which had just finished the surgery, felt comfortable. Pan Dehai blinked. Anyway, his injuries are definitely worse than yours, including there. Pan Dehai pointed to Pan Jiang's crotch. Pan Jiang clenched his fist excitedly. Kill that bastard. How dare he kick my crotch? Dad, let's just turn him into a eunuch. At most, we can just pay the compensation. Pan Dehai smiled proudly. Do I need you to teach me this? I guess even if he's not a eunuch, he should be close to it, right? The fat woman who was peeling fruits on the side, Pan Jiang's mother, also snorted. In my opinion, just injuring him is too easy on him. Why don't we just let him fill the cement column? You've done it before anyway. Pan Dehai shushed her. Don't talk nonsense in front of your son. Don't mention those old things again. It's not like before. The fat woman rolled her eyes at Pan Dehai. Anyway, I'm not satisfied. Also, that girl who dared to frame my son is called Sun Xiaoxuan, right? We can't just let it go. We have to teach that vixen a lesson. Pan Jiang also nodded slightly. Dad, I've never begged you since I was a child. But this time I must get Sun Xiaoxuan. Help me. Pan Dehai looked at Pan Jiang again. Okay, let's celebrate your 20th birthday. It's rare for you to be so serious about a woman. Pan Jiang shook his head. I don't mean to be serious. I just want to play with her. Ruthlessly and break her. At this moment, the ward door was pushed open. Wu Tong walked in front, followed by Wang Long and 3 other police officers. Pan Dehai stood up from his chair and said with a straight face, What are you doing? Arrest her. Take her away. Wu Tong said as she pointed at Pan Dehai. Wang Long and another police officer approached him from the left and right. Pan Dehai struggled. Let go. What right do you have to arrest me? I want to find my lawyer. Wu Tong curled her lips. Aha, lawyer? I just want to play with her. Ruthlessly. Break her. She mimicked Pan Zhang's tone and said with a fake smile. Pan Dehai's expression changed. You're spying on me? I want to sue you for violating my privacy. Wu Tong smiled. That's one thing. If you want to sue me, you can do it later. But right now, you're suspected of hiring someone to injure someone. Come with me. Chapter 75. What are you doing? Let go of my dad. My dad is the vice president of the Transport and Construction Department. Pan Jiang, who was lying on the bed, also became agitated. Wu Tong pointed at Pan Jiang's head. Vice president? It's useless even if you've committed a crime. Don't be in a hurry to jump out. You're also involved in a rape case. But considering that you've just had surgery and are still in bed, we won't take you away for the time being. But these 2 police officers will stay with you until you can reluctantly leave the hospital. We'll need you to assist in the investigation. Pan Jiang was stunned. What? Don't frame me? Pan Jiang's fat mother rushed up from the side like a hungry tiger, wanting to hit Wu Tong. She shouted, You bitch. Don't wrongly accuse my Pan and Xiao Jiang. I'll kill you. No matter what, Wu Tong was an expert in Wujing City's police force. How could she let this fat woman get away with it? She grabbed her fat mother's hand and put it behind her back. She pressed down hard, making her unable to move. I advise you to calm down. If you have anything to say, you can ask your lawyer to help you in court. It's meaningless for you to howl in front of me. Bitch, let go. I know Chief Wang of the Municipal Bureau. Don't go too far. None of you here will have a good ending. The fat mother continued to howl. Wang Long, who knew what was going on, thought it was very funny. Wang Long only learned of Wu Tong's real background from Bureau Chief Ding 2 days ago. Her background was frighteningly big. That Bureau Chief Wang would never have the guts to touch a hair on Wu Tong, unless he didn't want to work anymore. Besides, Wu Tong was enforcing the law normally. There was no violation of the law. Before everyone set off, Chief Ding had already completed all the procedures to file a case. Take her away. Wu Tong ignored the fat woman's clamor and just pushed her forward. She turned around and called Wang Long and the other 2 police officers to leave, leaving the 2 of them to watch over Pan Jiang in the ward. Pan Dehai reluctantly followed the crowd out. He turned back and said, Honey Pan Jiang, don't worry. I'll call Chief Wang right away. If it doesn't work, Chief Lu from the head office can also help. They won't dare to do anything to me. He had purposely said these words in front of Wu Tong and the others. Wu Tong smiled disdainfully. Fine, if you want to make a call, I'll let you do it slowly. I want to see if your connections can reach the sky. Don't worry, let's wait for this great vice president to finish his call, then we'll take him away. That way he'll give up earlier and not cause a ruckus. Wang Long almost burst out laughing. Big sister, do you have to be so mean? On the way here, Wu Tong made a few phone calls in succession to greet them. She also sent the documents she prepared last night to the internal archives of the few VIPs one by one. Now, even if Pan Dehai went to the provincial office, it would be in vain, let alone the people in the city bureau. Hello Chief Wang, it's me. Contact Pan Dehai of the Transport and Construction Division. Where's little Pan? Pa. The call was cut off. Director Zhou, hello, Pa, the call was cut off again. Boss Lu, it's me Pan Dehai. Something happened here. Finally, there was someone who didn't hang up the phone. It was the boss of Tongyun Construction Company, Boss Lu. Little Pan, I have a rough idea of what happened to you. I can only tell you that this time I can't protect you and no one can. I've always told you that now that we're doing business, we have to act like businessmen. Do you still think it's the old days? But you don't listen to me. You always like to do things your own way. Now, something happened, didn't it? Although I don't know how you offended others, you have to bear the consequences of your own mistakes. I can't let the whole company get involved in your matters. Do you know? You've pierced the heavens, you've gotten yourself into big trouble. Boss Lu said a few more words, but it extinguished the last glimmer of hope in Pan Dehai's heart. Boss Lu had been operating in Wujing City for many years and had a wide network of connections. He was the kind of person who was quite popular in the entire Sichuan province, both in the underworld and in the underworld. Pan Dehai was also his right-hand man, and he had helped him many times in the past. But this time he was going to abandon him without even thinking about it. It's over. His hands trembled as he hung up the phone. Pan Dehai's face no longer had the confidence and pride from before. Wu Tong glanced at him. Are you done with the call? Are you satisfied now? Can you leave with me now? Pan Dehai asked in a trembling voice. You? Who are you? Why is that? Who wants to mess with me? Why are you still so stubborn? Does it matter who I am? No one wants to mess with you and you don't have that value. What do you call this? You've made a trap for yourself. Actually, it wasn't that big of a deal for you to hire a hitman to hurt someone, but I seem to have heard something really big just now. I've seen a dossier before. In a bridge project that you were in charge of in your early years, it seemed like a designer had mysteriously disappeared. It was written in black and white in the dossier that the designer and the project manager, Pan Dehai, had always had a grudge against each other. Boss Pan, your story is quite complicated. Wu Tong's words were said lightly, but they hit the soft spot in Pan Dehai's heart that had been hidden for many years. His face suddenly turned snow-white, and his whole body slowly fell limply to the ground. Looking at his pitiful state, Wu Tong rolled her eyes. He didn't deserve any sympathy. If you want to talk about the law, I'll talk about the law with you. If you want to compete with connections, I'll let my father compete with you. The matter this time wasn't that serious, but he had a criminal record in the past. If she dug it all out, he would probably fall into the abyss. Last time, in order to collect evidence for Pan Zhang's rape case, she had secretly hidden a listening device in the fat woman's clothes. If nothing unexpected happened, she could also solve a murder case from 10 years ago. It was really killing two birds with one stone. Pan Dehai was being carried out of the ward, and he saw Qin Guang and Sun Xiaoshuan poking their heads out of the door. Qin Guang had long been hiding at the door, and he had heard most of the conversation inside. When Wu Tong used the listening device just now, he was also at the side. Seeing Pan Dehai come out, Qin Guang went up to him. Hello, Uncle Pan. I'm Pan Zhang's classmate, Qin Guang. I heard that someone kicked his egg, so I brought some quail eggs to visit him. Eat it to make up for it. As he spoke, Qin Guang actually took out a quail egg from his pocket, and then he crushed it with his fingers. Qin Guang? That bastard who injured Pan Zhang. He's here to watch the show? Pan Dehai felt suffocated and his eyes rolled back. He was so angry that he almost fainted. Back in the ward, Pan Zhang's fat mother also knew that things were getting out of hand, but the biggest mistake she made was the words she had said. She was already lying on the ground and crying, saying that she was wronged and so on. Pan Zhang leaned back on the bed and his face was ashen. He knew that his whole family was finished. Chapter 76. Sun Xiaoshuan was kind enough to want to go in and comfort Pan Zhang. Qin Guang pulled her back. You still want to comfort someone like him? Didn't you hear what he said just now? Save it and go away. I don't think he'll give up so easily. There are some things that I have to talk to him face to face. With that, Qin Guang walked back into the ward. Wu Tong wanted to stop him. Qin Guang, what are you doing? Don't go in and cause trouble. Qin Guang's expression was very serious. Officer Wu, I really don't want to go in and cause trouble. You don't understand Pan Zhang. If I don't go in and make things clear, let this kid see the situation clearly and warn him. Otherwise, Sun Xiaoshuan won't be safe and I won't be safe either. You don't want to see me involved in some case of excessive self-defense or manslaughter, do you? Are you threatening me? Wu Tong stared at him. Qin Guang shook his head. No, I'm just stating the facts. I'm not going to argue with you about the law, but since some things can be avoided, it's better to avoid them as much as possible, right? Wu Tong realized that she couldn't win against him in an argument. All right, I'm afraid of you. I'll go in with you. You better be careful. Even though you're in the right, don't go overboard and let others talk about you. Wu Tong finally agreed to Qin Guang's request. She even sent the other two police officers who were originally guarding the ward outside to make it easier for Qin Guang to speak. Actually, it was against the rules for her to bring people, including Qin Guang and Sun Xiaoshuan. But now that the people at Wenxing branch knew about her special identity, no one reminded her about it. Of course, it wasn't a serious violation. Qin Guang was happy. He was just afraid that Wu Tong wouldn't come in. When he entered the ward, Pan Zhang was staring blankly at the sky. His fat mother seemed to have fainted from crying on the ground. Pan Zhang, you're injured. As your old classmate, I'm here to visit you on behalf of the whole class. Aren't you going to welcome me? Qin Guang walked in with a smile and a despicable expression on his face. It couldn't be helped. This guy had only himself to blame. Even at this point, he still didn't know how to repent. If Wu Tong wasn't here, Qin Guang would have beaten him to death just based on what he had said earlier. It was just that he was being sarcastic with his words, but old Master Qin was really magnanimous. When Pan Zhang heard Qin Guang's voice, he slowly turned his head. His eyes that had been wandering around the horizon gradually came back to his senses. He abruptly straightened up from the bed. Qingguang, you still dare to come? Oh, what's wrong? Did you become so bold after the surgery? You've improved? Why wouldn't I dare to come? Tell me, why wouldn't I dare to come? Qingguang sat on the chair next to Pan Zhang's bed. He grabbed some melon seeds from the fruit plate next to him and started munching on them as he spoke. Pan Zhang's eyes were wide open and his eyebrows were raised. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling and his fists were clenched tightly. If it wasn't for the fact that he knew he couldn't beat Qingguang, and if it wasn't for the fact that his crotch was still aching from the surgery, he would have jumped up and fought Qingguang with all his might. Don't be too full of yourself. There will be a time when you'll cry and beg me to let you go. Qingguang, you and I are irreconcilable. Pan Zhang squeezed out these words through his teeth. His hatred was monstrous. Qingguang took another bite of melon seeds and turned his head to look at Wu Tong. Sis, did you see that? He's even threatening me? Wu Tong glared at him in annoyance. Who's your sis? Besides, is he threatening you? You're the one who took advantage of me and forced me to say harsh words, right? I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen someone as shameless as him. I've never seen someone as shameless as him. Wu Tong couldn't help but feel a bit regretful. If she knew this guy's mouth was so cheap, she wouldn't have asked him to warn Pan Zhang. How was this a warning? This was clearly a slap in the face. But in the end, she didn't tear down Qingguang's stage. If she could guess what Qingguang was going to say next, she would definitely regret it so much that her intestines would turn green. Qingguang suddenly stood up from the chair and leaned down to close the distance between him and Pan Zhang. He looked down at Pan Zhang and didn't say a word for a long time. Pan Zhang was a bit scared by his gaze. Qingguang, what are you doing? The police are still here. You'd better not act recklessly. Qingguang spat out 2 pieces of melon seed shells from his mouth and smashed them on Pan Zhang's forehead. He said in a sinister tone, Are you stupid? Don't tell me you still don't understand? Haven't you given up yet? Don't you think that if I beat you up like this, your father wouldn't find someone to mess with me? But look at the result. I'm standing here alive and kicking, but you're lying on the hospital bed, half dead. Don't you think it's strange? Without waiting for Pan Zhang to speak, Qingguang continued, I'm not afraid to tell you. According to the normal rules, I wouldn't have to be detained if I paid the money for beating you up. But more importantly, your father's connections were blocked by someone else. Do you understand? Was blocked. Your father's connections aren't strong enough. Pan Zhang opened his mouth, wanting to refute Qingguang's words. Tongyun Construction Company wasn't a small enterprise, and the company's vice president was definitely considered a big shot. What about now? Your father found some gangsters to stop me last night, and today he immediately put himself in trouble. You heard the phone calls he made just now, right? You also know who he was calling, right? And the result? It's useless. It's useless no matter who he called. No one can save him. Pan Zhang, your father died because of you and your family is finished. This is all because of you. From now on, you, Pan Zhang, are no longer that rich boss's son. Your father will spend his days in jail. Maybe he'll even have to eat peanuts. As Qingguang spoke, he kept closing the distance between him and Pan Zhang, his eyes fierce and aggressive. Pan Zhang didn't dare to look him in the eye, turning his head to the side. His eyes were dull, his gaze blank, and his expression panicked. No, impossible. No way. My father will be fine. If it wasn't for you, your father could have continued to be his boss in peace and you, Pan Zhang, would still be your rich second generation. But it's a pity that you offended someone you shouldn't have. Your family's connections are nothing compared to our sisters. As Qingguang spoke, he stood up abruptly and pointed at Wu Tong, who was scratching her head in confusion. See that? This is my sister Wu Tong. Her surname is Wu. She's a legitimate second-generation official. Connections? Can your father win against her? With just a phone call, your father, monkey son, couldn't escape from the palm of Buddha's hand. Of course, if your father was upright, there wouldn't be so much trouble. Although my sister is a second-generation official, she's also a police officer who abhors evil. But it seems like your father's background isn't that clean? Can he stand up to investigation? Now, do you still want to take revenge? You want to use your family's money and power to fight against my sister? Are you really that stubborn? I advise you to be a good person in the future. Since we're classmates, let's part on good terms, or else you'll be consigned to eternal damnation. What do you think? When Qingguang said the last sentence, his tone became gentler, but it didn't make Pan Zhang relax. Instead, his heart turned cold and his face turned ashen. Because the current Qin Guang was too confident. Fine. That's all I have to say. If you still have any tricks up your sleeves, show me. Sister, let's go. After saying that, Qin Guang turned around and left. He even dragged Wu Tong, who was dizzy from his lies, out of the ward. Wu Tong only had one thought in her mind. Oh my God. I never expected that there would be such a despicable and vicious person in this world. You've really reached a whole new level of intimidating others with your connections. Chapter 77. Wu Tong was not stupid. What did he mean by, "This is my sister Wu Tong, her surname is Wu"? He was obviously hinting to Pan Jiang about her relationship with Wu Shan, Chief Wu. Qin Guang could not possibly know about this. In that case, this guy must have thought of his father because of his surname. After all, her father had been on TV for the past 2 months and was considered a celebrity in Wujing City. He was purposely creating a misunderstanding for Pan Jiang, making him think that she was Chief Wu's daughter. He actually guessed correctly. Are you born in the year of the dog? If Wu Tong knew that this was the second time Qin Guang had used the same trick, she might have the urge to strangle Qin Guang. Actually, after she left the ward, her hand was already on Qin Guang's neck. Yo. What kind of person do you think I am? Since when did I become your sister? I'm not close to you. Don't try to pull a fast one on me. Wu Tong was furious. That's too much. Of course, even though she said that and looked as if she wanted to eat someone up, in the end she didn't really have the heart to do it. She was a person who had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Just like the day when she had recovered from her emotional state, she looked like she wanted to beat Qin Guang to death with a rubber baton. But until today she did not do it. Qin Guang laughed and moved Wu Tong's hand away from his neck. All right. Who are you? You're the people's justice. The protector of justice in the world. Officer Wu. I'm doing this to kill Pan Jiang's motive in the cradle. I'm also defending the dignity of the law. Wu Tong spat at him and said, Save it. No matter how I look at you, I still think you're going to add insult to injury. Qin Guang shook his head. No. Look at me, look at my sincere eyes. Believe me, I'm not that kind of person. As Qin Guang spoke, his eyes widened as he stared at Wu Tong, getting closer and closer. Wu Tong turned her head and looked directly at Qin Guang's big face. She said, What are you doing? Wang Long and the others are waiting down there. Let's go, let's go. As she spoke, Wu Tong suddenly stopped talking. Looking at him at such a close distance, she suddenly recalled that night. Whenever she saw him, her heart would beat wildly, as if it was about to jump out of her throat. The hospital corridor, which was originally bustling with people, suddenly became dead silent. She could even hear her own heartbeat, which was getting louder and more intense. Her breathing also gradually became nervous and hurried. Wu Tong thought that a long time had passed, but it was actually less than 10 seconds. She turned her head to the side and pushed Qin Guang away. Stop it. Give me an explanation. Otherwise, you'll have a taste of your own medicine. Qin Guang flashed to the side to avoid Wu Tong's sneak attack. With a straight face he seriously said, Officer Wu, you don't understand Pan Jiang. You're right. I just deliberately made up your identity to look like I was taking the opportunity to humiliate him. But in my eyes he's just a passerby in life, so there's no need to find pleasure from him. But you also saw that he didn't have the slightest bit of repentance just now. He hates me and Sun Xiaoxuan to the bone. Even if he's sentenced to prison because he drugged the class monitor, it won't be more than 2 years, right? Not to mention that he didn't succeed, so I'm afraid the time is even shorter, right? Wu Tong felt a bit disappointed when he turned serious and even called her Officer Wu. But she didn't show it on her face. She also put on a solemn expression and nodded. That's true. Qin Guang solemnly replied, That's right. He will regain his freedom sooner or later, and if he maintains the same mentality as before, coupled with the fact that his father, Pan Dehai, must have left him quite a sum of money. If that's the case, can I and the class monitor study in peace in the future? I'm afraid we'll have to live in fear all the time, right? So, that's why I'm borrowing your power to suppress his heart. To make him feel that there's no hope for him to succeed in his revenge. Or even if he succeeds, he won't be able to bear the counterattack of my big sister, Officer Wu. In the future, he'll gradually let go of the hatred he has for me and the class monitor, and steadily live his second life. As the saying goes, revenge breeds revenge. When will it ever end? I've put a lot of effort into this, so please understand. How do you know he'll really be scared? Wu Tong didn't believe it. Qin Guang smiled confidently. If it was someone else, this trick of mine might not be effective. But for Pan Jiang, I'm willing to bet 10,000 that it'll definitely be effective. The more obsessed a person is with power and money, the more they'll be afraid of someone stronger than them. On the surface, Pan Jiang looked like a crazy person who relied on his family's wealth and power to be arrogant, domineering, and disregarding the law. But in fact he was a slave to real power in his bones. His father is currently in big trouble. Although he doesn't know why no one responded to him when he called for help, it doesn't matter. At least it can give Pan Jiang the illusion that there's a big shot who wants to mess with Pan Dahai. I also took advantage of the fact that the armed police officer had the same surname as that high-ranking official Wu, so I lied to him. Needless to say, he'll think in that direction himself. Wu Tong rolled her eyes. This guy, what illusion that there's a big shot who wants to mess with Pan Dahai. Fake your face. Wu Shan is my dad. I'm the one who wants to mess with Pan Dahai. Of course, she couldn't bring herself to say it out loud. Otherwise, wouldn't Qin Guang think she was showing off? You stinking brat. You're really something. Wu Tong stretched out her finger and poked Qin Guang's head. She rolled her eyes at him. All right, there's nothing for you to do here. I'll go back to the station first. I'm afraid there's still a lot of cases behind Pan Dahai that need to be dug up. Most of the credit should go to me. This is the biggest contribution I've made since I started working. Last night, the arrest of Brother Scar's gang was also my credit. I owe you a favor. I'll treat you to a meal later. I'll leave first. After walking a few steps, Wu Tong turned around and looked at Qin Guang from head to toe. She had to say after everything was over, this brat was quite pleasing to the eye. Perhaps Wu Tong didn't feel it herself, but after that unforgettable night of emotional torture, although that feeling had disappeared, the memory remained. Although she said she hated him and couldn't get used to seeing Qin Guang again, deep in her heart she couldn't bring herself to hate him at all. She thought about how she always suffered losses whenever she met this guy. On the first day she wanted to detain him for 15 days, but he walked away with his head held high. On the second day she wanted to beat him up, but she ended up helping him beat others instead. Instead she became his free thug. Today she was used by this guy again. He said that she pretended to be a rich second generation to scare Pan Jiang, but it turned out to be true. Wu Tong had suffered too many losses. If she didn't get back at him, she wouldn't feel at ease. Oh, that's right. Didn't this brat call me sister just now? I'll go along with it and make this brat shorter than me for no reason. I'll piss you off. Brat. I'll remember what you said just now. When you see me in the future, call me sister. Do you hear me? I'm your sister. Behave yourself. Don't let me catch you and send you to the police station. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Oh, you're still thinking about that 11,000 yuan? Don't worry about it. I can lend it to you, but don't think about winning it back from me. Let's go. This time Wu Tong really left. She whistled and skipped. She was in a good mood and very proud of herself. She never thought that if she really recognized Qin Guang as her brother, she would be the one at a disadvantage. Chapter 78. Why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? Qin Guang felt uncomfortable being stared at by Sun Xiaoxuan's weird expression. He couldn't help but ask when they walked out of the hospital. Sun Xiaoxuan smiled mysteriously. Nothing. I just think you've become more handsome recently. Qin Guang was delighted. He touched his face. Really? Really? Sun Xiaoxuan was disgusted by his narcissism. He poked him in the waist with his finger and laughed. Stop being so smug. Hurry back to school. Today is the swimming team semi-finals. We don't have a basketball team this time, but the whole class is counting on you to do well. Even though everyone says that it's important to participate, Teacher Zhuo will be disappointed if he returns empty-handed. So I've become famous in class these past 2 days? Qin Guang was overjoyed. He didn't know that swimming fast had this benefit. Sun Xiaoxuan nodded. Of course. The people who watched your race that day have become your fans. Gaoye, that big mouth, has been promoting you to the girls every day. You probably don't know that she recorded it with her phone and plays it to everyone she meets. Don't you pay attention to the boys? Qin Guang shook his head. He thought to himself, every second of my life is so fulfilling. I earn hundreds of thousands of yuan every minute. I don't have the time to care about what others say about me. I don't earn a single cent. So many girls admire me? He couldn't control his narcissism in the end. Sun Xiaoxuan nodded. Yes, it's not just the girls. Teacher Zhuo also said that he wants to watch your race today. When Qin Guang heard that, he scratched his head in puzzlement. All right, I'll treat it as if what you said is true. I'm really popular in the class, but why hasn't anyone confessed to me yet? There's no reason. As an old bachelor, It wasn't easy for him to become a celebrity, but why did he have to continue to be a bachelor? I can't accept this. Sun Xiaoxuan was speechless. The two took a taxi back to school. Before Sun Xiaoxuan left, he encouraged Chen Guang again, telling him to swim well today and maintain his winning streak until the finals. Of course, judging from the previous matches, this matter was set in stone without any suspense. Even Dong Tao was no match for Chen Guang. No one in the school could pose a threat to Chen Guang in the 400-meter freestyle. Sun Xiaoxuan only regretted that he didn't register a few more items for Chen Guang. Otherwise, it would have been great if he could have bought all of them. Chen Guang naturally agreed to Sun Xiaoxuan's encouragement. After all, this wasn't a difficult task to begin with. Unfortunately, in the end, he still couldn't step onto the springboard of the semi-finals. After returning to the dormitory, Chen Guang was about to tidy up his swimming trunks. When he opened his cabinet, he saw the glittering golden armor. An idea popped into his head. *CK, it's been almost 2 weeks since I saved those two celebrities. Big Beard Deng's armor has been with me for so long. Why hasn't Big Beard called me? Didn't he say that he would give me a chance to earn 100,000 in 30 seconds? Could it be that he had forgotten about me? Scum. Bastard. Ungrateful ingrate. The new king of Yu Gojian. Poor me, I've been practicing my acting skills day and night for the past 2 weeks. I've been thinking about how to become a good actor. Although the more I practice, the more I fall behind, my sincerity can be seen by the heavens and the earth. But you? In the end, you were just saying it casually to be polite to me, weren't you? You never intended to be grateful, you were just messing with me, right? You're an animal. Do you know that your polite words caused the old man to lose his appetite and couldn't sleep at night? King took it seriously. You're a famous director, how can you trick a commoner like this? Are you even human? Chen Guang was a little unhappy. If it was anyone else, they would not be happy after being tricked like this. Turning around, he saw Bai Nyangzi with a rag doll on his bed. Don't ask him why there was such a thing on his bed. There was no need to explain. Jumping up, Chen Guang grabbed the rag doll and wrote Big Beard Deng on it. I'll break your hand. I'll break your neck. I'll wrap your legs. I'll beat you to death. Chen Guang subjected Bai Nyangzi to inhumane torture to vent his anger. After he was done, he had a flash of inspiration. Oh, did you forget about me? Then you don't remember this set of armor, right? Furthermore, I didn't write an IOU. This thing's workmanship is so exquisite. It should be worth at least $2, right? Chen Guang immediately went around asking where he could sell this thing to see if he could sell it for a good price. Hey, you don't say. He managed to contact a famous cultural company in Wujing City. This company specialized in commercial performances and props for film crews. Chen Guang first searched for the company's phone number on the internet and called. Hello, how are you? I have a set of armor that looks quite exquisite for sale. Is your company buying it? It's quite exquisite. It's not fake, it's the kind you see on TV. The workmanship is superb. I used to work for a film crew and they gave it to me to offset my salary. It's from a legitimate source. He stuttered a little because he also felt that this call was quite nerve-wracking. The company was so big and these things were all produced by professionals. Who would buy something from an outsider for no reason? As expected, the person who answered the phone only said 3 words and hung up. Where's the crazy one? You're the crazy one. Even if the business doesn't work out, there's still justice. What kind of attitude is that? Beep beep beep. Looks like I can't sell it. Chen Guang threw the phone away angrily and went to hit the villain again. After a few minutes, the company called back. Hello, sir? Do you want to sell armor? If it's convenient for you, can you send a photo for us to see? My name is Hao Yukai. My WeChat ID is... The number was the same as before, but the voice had changed from a young woman to a middle-aged man. Perhaps he was the manager of the company. Although he was unhappy for the sake of money, Chen Guang still sent a photo to the other party patiently. Within a minute, the other party called again. Mr. Chen, where are you now? I'll be right there. 50,000. One price. 50,000. Alright, Chen Guang had no idea how much this thing was worth. However, it didn't seem too bad if he could get 50,000 yen from selling a bunch of metal pieces. He agreed immediately and asked the other party to drive to Gokyo University. Then he continued to hit the villain. Since he had nothing better to do, he might as well hit the villain. Chen Guang didn't know that at that moment, on the other side of Wujing, Big Beard Deng was talking to someone about him. Chapter 79. After spending more than 2 weeks, Deng Xiaojiang had finally smoothed out the series of unforeseen events brought about by the sinking of the pleasure boat. The film crew continued to work. They had just finished filming the scene in the lake 2 days ago. Today they were going to film a battle scene with many generals. The props team did an inventory and found that a set of armor for the deputy general was missing. Deng Xiaojiang was furious and scolded the person in charge of the props team, Xiao Hu. What the hell are you doing? How could you lose such a big set of armor? You lost it just like that? Why don't you just throw it away? I don't care what you do. Hurry up and get me a usable set. I need it this afternoon. If you can't get it back, don't come back. Get lost. This Xiao Hu was even more wrong than Do Yi. He didn't know what was going on. All the costumes and props were arranged uniformly. How could they just disappear like a ghost? Did he bump into a ghost? He was also at a loss and had tears in his eyes. Big Beard Deng's saliva scolded him. He then shrank his neck and slipped away. Alright, I'll think of a way to find it. Wujing City is so big. It can't be that I can't even find a usable set of armor, right? After the poor Xiao Hu had gone far away, the site supervisor, Old Ma, looked like he wanted to say something but stopped himself. He had a strange expression on his face. Big Beard Deng glared. Old Ma, what's with that expression? Are you constipated or something? Do you need me to clear it for you? I didn't scold you, did you feel uncomfortable? If something drops, aren't you responsible as the site supervisor? Old Ma chuckled. Director Deng, I deliberately waited for you to finish scolding Xiao Hu before coming over. I was giving you a way out. My dear Director Deng, why don't you think about it again? Didn't you ask me to give that set of armor to Bro Qinguang? He wore it and took it away. The one who saved Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage Qinguang. It was that day. Big Beard Deng slapped his forehead. Ah, that's right. How could I forget about that little brother? Look at my memory. I'm so busy. That kid wouldn't be cursing me for being ungrateful in his heart, right? Oma laughed it off. Director Deng, don't worry. Brother Qinguang is a reasonable man. He definitely won't make up stories about you. Why don't I call him now? Deng Xiaojiang shook his head. Forget it. I'll do it myself. It's already been 2 weeks. If I don't call him myself, I'll look like I'm putting on airs. Qinguang did not make fun of Big Beard Deng in his mind, because he was busy beating up the villain. When the call was connected, Big Beard Deng said with a smile, Hello. Was it Qinguang? It's me. Deng Xiaojiang. It's that Big Beard's director. That's right, it's me. With one hand on the phone and the other on the rag doll's neck, Qinguang's mouth twitched. Yo. Oh hee hee hee. Oh. My uncle. You finally remembered to call me. You scared me to death. I thought you had forgotten about me. This was the most embarrassing thing in the world. He was just strangling Big Beard Deng's little man's neck when Big Beard Deng called him. How could he do that? Deng Xiaojiang was also slightly embarrassed. It's my fault. I've been too busy these past 2 weeks. I just finished today. Didn't I hurry to call you? Are you free now? Remember to bring your armor to the set. I've arranged the scene for you in the afternoon. Like I said before, 30 seconds, 100,000. Deng Xiaojiang felt very guilty. Back then he had helped him so much. He owed him a life-saving debt. At the time was tight and he didn't have the time to prepare more money, so he only gave him 50,000 on the spot. He decided to give him a small role for 30 seconds. On one hand, it was to return the favor and try to help this young man. On the other hand, it was to find an appropriate excuse to give him another 100,000. The money had been prepared a long time ago. It wasn't a large amount, so it should be given. Of course, although Deng Xiaojiang's personality was very casual and open-minded, he was very serious about the movie. Although he was helping Qinguang, he was only talking about 30 seconds of scenes. But truth be told, Qinguang's character was just a nameless, armored soldier riding a horse behind the commander of the two armies when they were facing each other. He just had to sit there and pose, and when the other side's commander provoked him, he just had to put on a slightly indignant expression. Speaking in terms of image, Qinguang had to act like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, where Wang Situ and Zhuge Liang were cursing at each other. On the screen, Qinguang's height wasn't even half the height of the television. Even if he was a pure walk-on actor with zero acting skills, it wasn't difficult at all. It wouldn't affect the quality of the movie at all. In the face of Deng Xiaojiang's invitation, Qinguang of course happily agreed. 1 minute on stage was 10 years of hard work off stage. He had trained hard for 2 weeks for this day. He was also very embarrassed. The other party hadn't forgotten him. They had just finished work and they were in a hurry to call him. Who was it? It was the gold medal director, Deng Xiaojiang. Look at his attitude. He was approachable and amiable. He was not arrogant or rash even though he was in a high position. He was so polite to a young college student like him. What a great man. Yet he was the villain behind his back. Qin Guang was so ashamed that he shed 2 lines of regretful tears. After hanging up, Qin Guang packed the armor and planned to drive out. As for the company that wanted to buy his armor, he had long since forgotten about it. The reason was very simple. One side was 50,000, and the other was 100,000. I'm not stupid. Can't you even tell which is more, 5 or 10? On the other end, Deng Xiaojiang cheerfully hung up the phone. He was about to call back the person in charge of the prop team, Xiao Hu, and tell him to stop looking. However, this unlucky guy rushed back excitedly and shouted, "Director Deng. President Hao of Iris Flower Company said he has a prop armor that meets our standards. He said he will deliver it in the afternoon. There are pictures here. This workmanship. Really authentic." Before Deng Xiaojiang could say anything, Xiao Hu had already placed the phone in front of Deng Xiaojiang's eyes. Deng Xiaojiang impatiently waved his hand. Go away, go away. Stop looking. Go busy yourself with other things. You don't have to worry about this armor." Xiao Hu was scared out of his wits. His face was deathly pale and he almost knelt on the ground. He looked pitifully at Deng Xiaojiang with tears in his eyes. "Director Deng? I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Didn't I already find it? Why don't you want it anymore?" Deng Xiaojiang choked on his anger. He turned around and glared at him. "Stop nagging. I just said you don't have to worry about the armor anymore. I told you to go busy yourself with other things. I didn't tell you to get the hell out of here." Big Beard Deng's heart was stifled. "Can you stop asking me why I don't want it anymore?" The old man was famous throughout his life. How could he admit that he had forgotten about it just now? "Why don't you give me a way out of this embarrassing situation and just let it go with the wind? Can we pretend this never happened?" Chapter 80. Old Ma was trying so hard to hold back his laughter that he almost fainted. Seeing Deng Xiaojiang's ugly face, he quickly came over and said, "Xiao Hu, stop making wild guesses. It's really okay. I have other arrangements for the armor. You can thank President Hao of Iris Flowers for me. The armor really isn't needed. You should get busy with other things. Don't let your imagination run wild. You've been with me and Director Deng for many years. Show some more confidence." As Old Ma spoke, he subconsciously glanced at Xiao Hu's phone. He was puzzled. Why does the armor in the photo look so familiar? It's so similar to the one we used to wear. After Xiao Hu walked away with a confused look on his face, Old Ma finally couldn't hold back his laughter. Big Beard Deng kicked his butt and said, "Get out of here too." Old Ma laughed and walked away. He went back to find Xiao Hu and asked him to forward the photo that Iris Flowers sent to him. He looked at it a few more times. The more he looked at it, the more it looked like the one that the crew used. Amazing. He thought that Iris Flowers had tried to work with him and Director Deng many times before, but it didn't work out. Although he didn't help much this time, he was still very enthusiastic. Their costumes and props are pretty good. This set of armor is on par with the one I made myself. It's just as exquisite as the one I made. It's just as exquisite. I can contact them later and strengthen our cooperation. Old Ma didn't expect that he was the one who gave the armor in the photo to Qin Guang. That Iris Flower Company's chairman Hao only forwarded Qin Guang's photo to Little Hu of the props team. "Director Ma, what are you laughing at? You look so happy." As soon as he turned around, Jiang Yage, who had just finished her makeup, came over. She couldn't help but ask when she saw Old Ma standing under the tree with a silly smile on his face. Jin Shirue followed behind Jiang Yage and reminded her loudly, "Song Yage, don't jump too much. The ornament on your head is going to fall off." Old Ma was happy. He was worried that Big Beard Deng would make a fool of himself, but he had no one to share it with. The other people in the production crew might not dare to listen to Big Beard Deng's embarrassing gossip, but the two of them did not care at all. Old Ma vividly talked about Big Beard Deng's embarrassing stories with Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage. He even showed the 2 stars the photo of the armor. When Jiang Yage heard that the young man from last time was really going to come to the crew, her heart was already in turmoil. Although Jin Shirue's expression didn't change, her heart was also in turmoil. On the other side, Qin Guang whistled and got into the car ready to leave the school. "What? You mean the school sports meeting? Sorry, there is no freestyle in my dictionary. Only 100,000 yuan. Oh, I seem to have promised by Nyangzi and the other 2 to take them to see the world. Save it. The director is giving you a chance to promote you, but you still don't know what's good for you and take some irrelevant people to see the fun. Aren't you making trouble for him? As a person, you have to know what's good for you and know your place. The director is grateful, but you can't beat him with a stick. You can't make things difficult for him. Qin Guang felt that he could enter the movie of the famous director, Deng Xiaojing, and even get a full 30 seconds of scene. That was an opportunity that countless handsome men and beautiful women in the Northern Film Academy could only dream of, even if they took the initiative to go to the front door to be slept with. I just went into the water and I was able to get such recognition and promotion from Deng Xiaojing. It was really a blessing of 3 lifetimes. If I didn't cherish this opportunity, I would be letting down the god of fate. Although people say that my acting skills are terrible, maybe it's because I haven't met a talent scout who can stimulate my potential. Big Beard Deng has a movie every year, especially the 2 movies that were released last year and this year. Both went straight to the box office of 1 billion yuan. His ability to turn stone into gold is definitely top-notch. Qin Guang had reason to believe that under Deng Xiaojing's guidance, this natural superstar of his would definitely awaken on the spot, and his acting skills would soar to the sky. After that, it would be the crucial 30 seconds of scene. Qin Guang winked at the rearview mirror and thought, I'm so handsome. If I get a close-up of my handsome face in the movie for 30 seconds, I'm afraid it will have a devastating impact on the reproduction of the human race. There will be millions of women who, after watching the movie, have high requirements for the appearance of the opposite sex around them. This will lead to an increase in the single rate. The birth rate will continue to drop. The great Wuxia will continue to age. The reproduction of the entire human race will suffer a devastating blow. I will become a sinner in history, and be engraved on a monument of shame. Oh no, I was too immersed in my own thoughts and my saliva dripped down and wet my collar. Magical power. Close. Qin Guang shook his head fiercely, and his silly disease disappeared. However, when he remembered that he really had 30 seconds of scene, he couldn't help but secretly laugh. He even looked forward to it in his heart. Maybe he really had the halo of a main character like the main characters in those novels. Originally, he was just going to be a bystander, and then in these 30 seconds he showed a perfect performance that could make the hearts of countless audiences tremble. Then he had a meteoric rise. In the next movie, he played the second male lead and won the Best Supporting Actor award at this year's Golden Horse Awards. Next year, I will become the male lead of Big Beard Deng's movie. I will become the youngest Golden Horse Best Actor without professional training in history. I will truly reach the peak of my life. That's right, life is often full of countless coincidences. I must seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to rewrite the life of the best actor Qin Guang. Something is wrong. My condition is getting worse. Should I find a psychiatrist to talk about it later? I think I can still be saved. Okay, let's go. By the way, I should give that poor company a call. Maybe their people have already set off. I feel a little guilty for standing them up and not giving them a call. Qin Guang took out his phone and was about to call Hao Yukai when his phone rang first. Hello, is this Mr. Qin? I am Hao Yukai from Iris Flowers. It's like this. I'm sorry, but we don't need that armor for the time being. I'm very sorry, I'm really sorry. I just sent you a 200 yuan red packet on WeChat. I apologize again. Before Qin Guang had time to speak, Hao Yukai spoke first. This gentleman was really good at doing business. When it came to handling things, even if it was obvious that he went back on his word, it was still hard to be angry. However, Qin Guang had no reason to care about him at all, because Qin Guang himself was also a pigeon king. In order not to be stood up by me, you stood me up first? First as respect? Looking down at his Tong Tian holy teacup, Qin Guang couldn't help but have a terrible thought in his mind. Could it be that I have unknowingly mastered a terrible special ability? Whatever I want to do, I can control the other party to follow my thoughts one step ahead of me. Is this the legendary master of fate? It's terrible. This is a terrible special ability that can only be mastered by the protagonist of a novel who can live an entire book. Hao Yukai, you are too polite. It's okay. Thank you for your red packet. Haha, let's cooperate again in the future. Hehe. After hanging up the phone, Qin Guang sighed in his heart. Why is the upper limit of a single WeChat red packet 200 yuan instead of 1,000? Chapter 81. With great anticipation, Qin Guang drove the car to the Wujing Film City that Big Beard Deng had informed him about. The Wujing Film City was a newly built film and television base in the past 2 years. Its main focus was on the filming of historical dramas and movies, which occupied a large area. How large was it? Qin Guang lost his way in the car and nearly ran into the cameras of other film crews before he was escorted by the kind security guards of the film city to the outside of Big Beard Deng's crew. Kid, don't run around. Wait here obediently. I'll go greet Director Deng's crew and ask if you're the real deal. If you didn't say that Director Deng called you over, I would have chased you out. Director Deng's crew isn't like others. If you accidentally ruin their business and offend them, let me tell you, no one in China will be able to pull you back into the entertainment industry. This little security guard was on duty in the film and television city all day long. He had seen a lot of celebrities and big shots. His vision was very high, and he felt that he had a very high status in the outside world. When he spoke, he was just short of being arrogant. Qin Guang rolled his eyes and could not be bothered to argue with him. He thought to himself, what do you know? Who am I? I'm the genius newcomer personally invited by director Deng that you mentioned. I'm about to appear on the screen and become a rising star in the film industry. How can a loser security guard like you understand the ambition of the old man? The security guard went over. Qin Guang poked his head out of the car window and looked around happily, looking curious. As expected of the Wujing Film City. Just the area near the parking lot in Zone B, the houses that could be seen were all ancient and grand. Sitting in the car, it was as if he had returned to ancient times. Not long after, the security guard came back. He had a strange expression on his face as if he had suffered a great shock. There were 4 to 5 people following behind him. Qin Guang looked in the direction of the security guard and saw the people behind him. He immediately understood why the young man looked like he had just eaten *T. Following behind him were 2 golden flowers in each of his hands. Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. There were also their agents and assistants. Qin Guang was also shocked. He had thought that Big Beard Deng would be very busy. At most, he would ask someone to pick him up. It was impossible for him to come personally. But he didn't expect that these 2 famous celebrities would personally come. This old man's face is several times more glorious. This old man's life is worth it. Qin Guang opened the door and got out of the car. He took out the shiny golden armor from the trunk and carried it on his back. Then he happily ran up to it. As he walked past the young security guard, Qin Guang raised his eyebrows at him. He was just short of riding on his face and shouting, "See! Am I the real deal?" Real gold and silver were so real. The mentally injured young security guard left in a daze. He needed to find a quiet place to mend his broken heart. Qin Guang stood in front of Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. Then he was so nervous that he didn't know where to put his hands. That's right, when he saved these 2 people that day, he was quite heroic. He touched and kissed places that he shouldn't touch and looked at places that he shouldn't look at. But at that time he was in a hurry and his life was at stake. He didn't think so much at all. Later he lost control of his prehistoric power. He was anxious to protect his face and left without saying anything to these 2 people. Even now, when he saw the 2 of them again, especially the 2 youthful beauties, donned in ancient clothes and wore light makeup, standing before him with a smile on their faces, he couldn't help but feel that his heart was beating a little too fast. Especially when he was driving over, the 2 of them were even playing their new songs on the car's stereo. Qin Guang felt that his heart was beating a little too fast. Well, he didn't pay for the original song. It was a pirated version on a pirate forum. Feeling guilty, he couldn't lift his head up high. Others worked hard to make a song, put in a lot of effort and put in a lot of effort. It only cost him a few cents to download a song. When he was drinking beer, his hand accidentally shook and spilled it. He didn't listen to the convenient and fast original version, but he still went to look for pirated versions. His conscience was uneasy. The 2 women didn't know Qin Guang's complicated feelings, but they came up together. They had just finished shooting a scene not long ago and were still in costume at this time. Jin Shiyue was wearing a simple but elegant green gauze dress, and Jiang Yage was wearing a white chivalrous woman outfit. When they got closer, Jin Shiyue spoke first. "Hello, Mr. Qin Guang. I'm Jin Shiyue, this is Jiang Yage, and this is our agent, Sister Zhou. Mr. Qin, thank you for saving my life last time. I wanted to thank you, but I didn't expect you to leave in a hurry and miss the opportunity. Director Deng is busy shooting and Solomon and I are resting at the moment. We have nothing to do, so we simply came to pick you up. After the shooting in the afternoon, please don't leave in such a hurry again. We want to invite Mr. Qin to have tea and chat with us to express our gratitude. Please don't delay it." Jin Shiyue's words were appropriate and respectful to Qin Guang, giving face to her savior. But in fact, her heart was not as calm as it seemed on the surface. How many lives do people have in this life? Her life was really hanging by a thread that day. If it weren't for this person who tried his best to save her, she was afraid that her ashes would have been in the ground now. Later, she heard from others about Brother Qin Guang's behavior when he was rescuing her. During this period of time, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Jin Shiyue, who had never been intimate with any man, saw this person again. He was the same age as her. Although he was not handsome enough to shock the country, he was indeed a sunny boy. It would be strange if her heart was as calm as still water. It was just that she was steady and her acting skills were superb. Under deliberate concealment, she acted dignified and generous without the slightest trace. Chen Guang was shocked by Jin Shiyue's words. Although the old man, have been in the society for many years, to put it bluntly, the society of the old man was nothing more than junior high school, and college. At most, I would add my hometown. All of a sudden, Jin Shiyue, such a big shot, said such official words in front of him. The old man really couldn't bear it. Waving his hand quickly, Chen Guang grinned and said, "Oh, Miss Jean, please don't call me Mr. Chen. I really can't bear it. Just call me Chen Guang. As for saving the two of you, it's not a big deal. Not to mention the two of you, even if it were two other ordinary people, as long as I meet them, I would also save them. So don't take it to heart. As a person who can swim, it's my duty to save people in that kind of situation. It's nothing." Chapter 82. Jiang Yage, who was on the side, was much more direct. Her small eyes kept sizing up Chen Guang from head to toe, especially the position of his crotch. At this moment, this little girl was thinking about the scene when Chen Guang was rescued by the site supervisor, Old Ma, and the scene of his broken thing swaying. She even subconsciously licked her tongue. "I say, Chen Guang, since you have said so, then you don't need to be polite with us sisters." They were all of the same age, so it was too awkward for them to call each other Mr. Chen and Ms. Jean. It was too distant. "How about this, we won't call you Mr. Chen, we'll call you Chen Guang, and you can call her Shiyue. As for me, I'll call you dear Songya." As Jiang Yage spoke, she leaned over and put her hand on Chen Guang's shoulder, a standard posture of familiarity. Chen Guang turned his head and almost gave Jiang Yage a fright. She was licking her tongue. "This heroine, your eyes are a bit improper. In my impression, we are not so familiar with each other, right? We are decent people, so you should be more decent. If I didn't hear wrong, did you just say, dear Songya?" Jiang Yage's overly familiar behavior really shocked Chen Guang. Some people want to ask, isn't it a little too weak to be intimate with a celebrity, and you are not only unhappy but also shocked? But Chen Guang has to defend himself. In his long life of 20 years, this was the first time he was so close to a dignified celebrity, and the other party was even a popular existence. He really didn't know how to get along with big stars. "Did I make a mistake when I got off the car?" Jin Shiyue was fine, her performance was completely within his expectations. But what was going on with Jiang Yage? Why was her performance so different from the big stars that the old man had always known? Master Chen Guang was at a loss. Although Big Beard Deng was a bigger star, he was still a director who worked behind the scenes all year round. He wasn't as familiar as these stars who often appeared on TV. In addition, when he saw Big Beard Deng, he only had a pair of briefs on him. In desperation, he tried to trick Big Beard Deng into taking off his pants. Later, when he met Big Beard Deng at the tea house, Chen Guang seemed so relaxed and casual. When he heard that the performance was worth 100,000 yuan in 30 seconds, he didn't even think about it and called Deng Xiaojiang uncle. But Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage didn't play by the rules at all, which caught him off guard. Chen Guang was stunned and didn't know what expression to use to face Jiang Yage, this weirdo. Sister Zhou finally couldn't stand it anymore. She came forward and calmly pushed Jiang Yage away. She grabbed Chen Guang's hand and said, "Hello, Mr. Chen. I'm Zhou Yun, the manager of left and right hands. Don't lower yourself to Solomon's level. She's just like that, she likes to joke. Ah, we just met each other. How can there be such a thing as dear Solomon?" As Zhou Yun spoke, she squeezed Jiang Yage to the side. She finally understood that this young master of hers had really fallen in love with her savior. How could she let this happen? Zhou Yun's attitude made Chen Guang calm down. He smiled and said, "Hello, Sister Zhou. Nice to meet you." "That's right, this is the normal way to open." Jiang Yage was unhappy and came forward again. "Sister Zhou, you're wrong to say that. I'm very serious." Jin Shiyue grabbed Jiang Yage from the side and said, "Don't mess around. You're making Chen Guang nervous. Let's go back. We'll be in the next scene. We need to go over our lines." Jiang Yage finally stopped messing around. Chen Guang carried the armor on his back and walked with everyone to the filming location. On the way, Zhou Yun took the initiative to chat with Chen Guang. She really didn't want Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue to have too much contact with Chen Guang. The two of them walked the path of purity. If they got too close to a young man outside the circle, she felt that it would cause unnecessary trouble. Zhou Yun's actions were understandable, but to put it bluntly, she was just someone who worked for Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue. The two of them didn't want to be manipulated by her, especially Jiang Yage. She was like a sparrow that couldn't shut its mouth the whole time, chattering non-stop. Although Jin Shirue didn't talk much, she would turn her head to size up Chen Guang from time to time, making him feel uncomfortable. Chen Guang was also very busy. He would turn his head to the left to chat with Zhou Yun, and then to the right to deal with Jiang Ye's questions. The situation finally went out of control after Jiang Ye said something. She said, "Oh right, when brother Chen Guang saved me in Shirue I was still slightly conscious, but sister Shirue was completely lifeless. You performed CPR on us at that time, right? I vaguely remember that your hand reached behind my back and unbuttoned my bra. Then, you used your hand to push up our stomachs to force the water out of them. What were you thinking when you took advantage of us at that time? The feeling? Pfft." At the same time, Chen Guang thought that the beloved Solomon was the limit of this heroine. Only now did he realize that he was ridiculously wrong. For many years, the image of the two pure girls in his left and right hands was deeply ingrained in his mind, and it instantly disappeared. "Sister, where's your integrity? This kind of thing happened, it happened." The old man did draw a world map in the bedding after the incident, but everyone had a tacit understanding. "Don't reveal it in front of me like this. How am I going to face the future of my life like this? How am I going to have a pleasant conversation with you guys?" "Solomon, what nonsense are you talking about? At that time lives were at stake. In order to save you, Mr. Chin did his best." "How could he have those messy thoughts you said? How could he have the feeling? If he had been a little bit slower, both of you would have lost your lives. Sister Zhou was still the best." At the critical moment, she stood up and saved Qin Guang's glorious image of a savior that was about to collapse. Qin Guang nodded again and again. "That's right. At that time, my mind was also blank. I couldn't remember anything. I just wanted to save everyone. Let me tell you, I swam from the other side of the lake. It was a long distance and time was tight. After diving, weren't there 4 people before the 2 of you? When I rescued the 2 of you on the boat, I almost passed out from exhaustion. How could I remember what I did at that time? I forgot it all." Then he added another word in his heart. "That would be weird. Sister Zhou was really a wonderful person." As she said that, she opened the LV bag she was carrying and rummaged inside. She took out a checkbook and said, "Mr. Chin, I really don't know how to thank you for saving our lives. On behalf of Shirue and Solomon, I have a small token of my gratitude. It's not enough to show my respect, but please accept it and don't refuse it." As Sister Zhou spoke, she swiftly wrote down a few numbers on the check. Chapter 83. She actually has her own motive for doing this. She doesn't want Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage to remember Qin Guang's kindness in their hearts. She directly gives enough money to make the 2 girls feel that they don't owe him anything. Qin Guang naturally won't be able to rely on this kindness to entangle with the 2 girls, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Qin Guang glanced at it. "My goodness, if I'm not wrong, this is 100,000? The old man's life is in danger of 100,000 today. Big Beard Dang hasn't even gotten his 100,000 yet, and there's already a harvest here. Today is a good day to go out, a good day to get rich, a good day to get 100,000. That's right, what tea and chat, what dear melody, it's all for nothing, it's still the bright red money that's more practical. Come to think of it, this is the first time I've seen something as grand as a check. You can just write something on it and you can get money? No, I have to go back and check how the check is cashed. Of course, I definitely can't ask now, I can't let others see through the truth of the old man's ignorance. How can I accept this?" Qin Guang pretended to decline while slowly stretching out his hand. Zhou Yun hasn't finished writing when Qin Guang's finger is already on the side of the check. Unexpectedly, halfway through, Jiang Yage suddenly appeared and snatched the check from Zhou Yun's hand. "Sister Zhou, what are you doing?" Qin Guang saved my and Sister Shiyue's lives. 100,000 yuan is enough to send him off? My and Sister Shiyue's lives are only worth 100,000 yuan? Are you humiliating brother Qin Guang? Or are you humiliating me and Sister Shirue? How can you use the stink of money to tarnish brother Qin Guang's life-saving grace? Jiang Yage is a little angry, she is a clever person, how can Zhou Yun's cunning thoughts be hidden from her? She would not easily get angry with Zhou Yun over other matters. But I have feelings for Qin Guang and you still dare to interfere. Do you really think that I, Jiang Yage, am someone you can manipulate? Jin Shirue, who was standing on the side, knew her sister like the back of her hand. Knowing that she was angry, she hurriedly smoothed things over. Yage, don't be like this. Sister Zhou didn't mean that. Don't make trouble. She might not listen to others, but since Jin Shirue said so, Jiang Yage first looked straight at Zhou Yun, then put the checkbook back in Zhou Yun's hands and said, Sister Zhou, I'm sorry, I was a little too excited. Zhou Yun nodded repeatedly and smiled apologetically. No, I was thoughtless. It was said that being in the king's company was like being in the company of a tiger. Zhou Yun had been the manager of his left and right hands for many years, so of course she knew the true background of the two women. It was just that the two girls had never been calculative with her, causing her to almost forget their identities. That was why she had interfered so casually today. Now, she suddenly realized that the two of them could not be treated as ordinary celebrities. The three of them are competing with each other, leaving only Qin Guang, whose fingers are still in the air, in the wind. I don't feel humiliated. 10 yuan is humiliating, but this is a whole 100,000 yuan. It's enough for my mother's medical expenses for 5 months. My family still owes millions of yuan. Don't think of me so noble, 100,000 yuan, I think it's very real. What nonsense are you talking about? How can money smell like copper? It's fragrant. It's fragrant. Why don't you just sully me? Looking at Zhou Yun reluctantly putting the checkbook back into her bag, Qin Guang felt like 10,000 beasts were galloping in his heart, but he had to squeeze a careless smile on his face. That's right. How can I ask for your reward for being brave? Sister Zhou, you're too polite. How can I do that? I can't afford to lose face, ha. Then Qin Guang didn't want to speak anymore. He felt that this must be retribution. It was because he listened to the pirated songs of his right-hand man that he was now being punished by the god of fate. The cooked duck actually flew away in front of his eyes. Yet he was suffering because of his pride. He really couldn't bring himself to ask for it. The old man is wise his whole life, but in the end he still lost to his pride. It turns out that my skin isn't as thick as I thought. I say, Jiang Yage, you don't understand the ways of the world at all. We can't be friends with people like you. Qin Guang also blamed Jiang Yage wrongly. She stopped Zhou Yun not because she didn't want to pay a single cent, but because she had other plans. She didn't want the fate between her and Qin Guang to end so easily. At the moment when she was saved by him, Jiang Yage's thought of devoting herself to him was not a joke. It was rare for her to be sincerely moved, and she found that he was indeed a person of the same age as her. He didn't look annoying and he was quite handsome and happy. Of course she wanted to get to know Qin Guang more. At the same time she wanted him to know her better. Even if she really wanted to give him this 100,000 yuan as a reward, she couldn't give it to him as she did now. Anyway, the cooked duck flew away. Qin Guang was very hurt and he didn't have much interest in talking. On the other side, Zhou Yun was shocked by Jiang Yage. She suddenly remembered that she was just a manager who did odd jobs for others, so she didn't do anything extra. Fortunately, this place wasn't far from the filming location. The awkward scene didn't even last for 10 seconds. After turning the corner, they saw the busy crew in front of them. Seeing that they were back, someone immediately came to look for Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage. You two are finally back. Director Deng said that in this group of shots, Yage, you should have the feeling that you have just fought with someone, and there must be blood on your clothes and face. The people of the #1 makeup group are looking for you everywhere. The staff member walked over in a hurry and urged Jiang Yage to go with him quickly. On the other side, Jin Shirui was also caught by someone. The male lead came to look for her. Qin Guang didn't stay idle. A young man ran over and pulled Qin Guang, saying, "Hello, you are Qin Guang, right? Director Deng specifically asked me to guide you in your scenes. Come with me first. Put on your makeup first. I'll talk to you about the play while you do it." It was related to whether he could make a meteoric rise and embark on the road of Best Actor. Qin Guang immediately went into work mode and followed the young man to the makeup room. He thought that Big Beard Deng was really professional. He was just a 30-second piece of trash with no lines, and he even sent someone to talk to him about the play. Just because of Big Beard Deng's care, he had to bring out his best state no matter what. He couldn't ruin his reputation. He and Jiang Yage didn't go in the same direction. The makeup requirements of the leading actors were completely different from that of the extras. When passing by the shooting location, Qin Guang heard Big Beard Deng shouting at the top of his voice. The way his saliva was flying and he was pointing to the east and the west looked really interesting. Qin Guang instantly understood why Big Beard Deng didn't have time to pick him up. He felt that Deng Xiaojiang on the set was like a perpetual motion machine. As long as he stood there, no matter whether he was using his brain or pointing his fingers, he couldn't stop at all. Chapter 84. Click, 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 Zhouya. I've told you many times. Did you not have breakfast or something? You have to be quick when you mount the horse. Do you look like you're running away in a panic with that sluggish look of yours? Yes, I know you don't know how to ride a horse, but I'm not asking you to ride me. You don't have to ask a stunt double to mount the horse, do you? This is a close-up of his face. You better show me some form. Old ma. Isn't Zhouya a little too short for you? Or else you can find me a shorter horse. Hurry up. Hey, what are you doing? If the horse is shorter, won't the camera on the slide be shorter too? Are you stupid? How much shorter? Can't you use a ruler to measure it yourself? Why do you have to ask me for everything? Old ma, are you looking for trouble? Open your eyes wide for me to see. It was written in black and white in the script. Counselor Zhuge opens the tent, rushes out, flips onto the white horse, fiercely lashes the horsewhip, and rushes into the depths of the forest. You brought me a stray horse? Are you King kidding me? Qin Guang knew the actor Zhouya who was being scolded. He was a big shot, but after being scolded by Deng Xiaojing, he only nodded vigorously without saying anything on his face. Under Deng Xiaojing's command, the rest of the crew ran around the set, busily preparing. The site supervisor Old Ma was the most miserable. He was like a spinning top under Deng Xiaojing's command, his head spinning non-stop. After being scolded badly by Deng Xiaojing, he turned around and scolded Xiao Hu from the prop team. It was so noisy on the set that it was like a food market. If he hadn't known that this was a movie and that Deng Xiaojing was just standing there, Qin Guang would have thought that he had gone to the wrong place. However, after the bustling and noisy preparation work was completed, following Deng Xiaojing's order, the previously noisy set suddenly quieted down. Not a single sound could be heard as everyone went about their duties. When Qin Guang saw the scene from afar, he subconsciously began to walk on his tiptoes, not daring to make the slightest sound for fear of disturbing the filming. He was even more surprised to find that the crew members, who had been running around like headless flies, had somehow found their places. The seemingly messy set instantly turned into a sophisticated machine, revealing its order in the chaos, like an exquisite work of art. As expected of a famous director. Qin Guang exclaimed inwardly. Previously when he saw Deng Xiaojing he thought that he was quite amusing. Now that he was on the set he was so awe-inspiring and imposing. Yet he couldn't help but be impressed. His eyes were really different. He could single-handedly command over 100 people on the set, and his eyes could see places that others couldn't. Although his words were unpleasant to hear like a machine gun firing at people everywhere, they were always unable to refute. With a wave of his hand, everyone instantly found their backbone. Amazing. Really amazing. Qin Guang felt that the pressure on his shoulders was even greater. Deng Xiaojing was such a strict and serious person, but he took care of him like this and gave him a great opportunity. Previously he didn't think that this was too great. He also understood that Deng Xiaojing was looking for a suitable reason to formally repay the life-saving grace in Painting Lake that day. But at this moment Qin Guang knew how precious and rare this opportunity was. Silently following the assistant to the group makeup room, Qin Guang sat down and let the makeup artist fiddle with his face. The assistant next to him took the initiative to say, "Brother Qin Guang, time is tight, let's make a long story short. You don't have any acting experience before, right?" Qin Guang answered honestly, "Yes, in the past 2 weeks I've crammed a lot of books on actors. I've probably read Actors' Self-Cultivation, Film and Television Performance Basics. These books. I hope they'll be of some use." Qin Guang's words slightly surprised the assistant. He didn't expect this super loyal brother to be so concerned about this matter. He had done so much research before coming. In fact, the assistant was just a little inconspicuous assistant in the crew. He had just graduated from the directing major of Chinese drama school less than a year ago, and had been working with Deng Xiaojing's team to accumulate experience. Earlier that day, Deng Xiaojing had specifically looked for him, which had flattered him. After Deng Xiaojing had finished explaining the situation, he felt strange but his fighting spirit was also high. Everyone knew that Deng Xiaojing had a very strict attitude when it came to making films. Ever since he had become famous, there had been very few cases of people entering through the back door. To be able to get into his film, one had to be able to get his approval, and the other had to be the actor's image that he wanted. Even for some seemingly unimportant extras, Deng Xiaojing had always used experienced actors who had been in the film and television industry for a long time. For example, Qin Guang, a non-performing student with no acting experience, had been directly pulled into the crew by Deng Xiaojing and given the role of deputy general in fresh clothes and armor. He had been on stage for 30 seconds, and even his face could be seen clearly on camera. This was really a first in the history of the world. This was a challenge, but it was also an opportunity. If he could turn this young man who had zero experience on stage into a qualified minor character in such a short time, director Deng would definitely be pleased. In the future, Deng Xiaojiang's team would definitely value him more. But at first he was still a little apprehensive. When it came to acting, people who didn't understand it would think it was easy and simple. But as an expert, the assistant knew that a qualified actor's skills on stage couldn't be fake. Deng Xiaojiang had strict requirements for movies, and he would be able to see through the slightest mistake with a single glance. These 30 seconds were going to be a tough battle. But luckily it was only 30 seconds. Bro, you actually made up for it yourself. Thank God, this has a lot of potential. Even if your acting skills are like a blank piece of paper, bro, I'll give you an emergency training. It shouldn't be that you can't even last 30 seconds. Then let's start now. The assistant shouted in high spirits, startling the makeup artist who was applying a wig to Chen Guang. Chen Guang nodded solemnly. Okay. About 2 hours later, the assistant, who had been proud of his future and full of enthusiasm for life, began to doubt his own life. Looking at Chen Guang, who had connections, the assistant felt that Chen Guang must be sent by the heavens to punish him, right? I can't accept this way of life. Heavens. This bro is poisonous. Chapter 85. If he really had zero acting skills, I might be able to salvage the situation. But his acting skills are not zero, it's negative. Bro, you've been learning how not to be a qualified actor for the past 2 weeks. Ever since this assistant had graduated, he had joined Deng Xiaojiang's team. A newcomer who could be picked by Big Beard Deng was also quite talented in the school. After traveling with Big Beard Deng for a year, the assistant boasted that he was very knowledgeable. He had seen all kinds of people and actors. He had also taken on some commercials and acted as a director. He had some achievements and met all kinds of talents. The investor had sent his mistress over to play around with a rich second-generation heir. Okay, there was also his cousin who was studying in high school. Which one of them had a foundation in acting? Didn't that mean that under his constant guidance, the commercial was successfully shot? In the past, the assistant thought that he was talented and that he would eventually become an evergreen tree in the Chinese film industry like Big Beard Deng. He would become a top director who perfectly combined business and art. He would leave behind one blockbuster film after another that was worthy of praise and box office hits. He would leave a strong mark in the history of the Chinese film industry. Until he met Chen Guang. Whether it was the performance type, the method type, or the most extreme experiential type, the assistant thought that he could explain the profound and simple terms to Chen Guang and did a very good personal demonstration. At the same time, he spent a lot of effort to understand the state of the assistant general that Chen Guang was going to play. You are the assistant general. The general that you deeply respect is being humiliated by the other general in a scolding match. How do you feel at this time? Anger? Unwillingness? Hate each other? With a strong urge to fight with the other party for 300 rounds to restore the dignity of the general. Look at my expression. How should a person look when they are angry? Eyes wide open, nostrils slightly open, lips slightly long, teeth clenched. Come, look at my expression first. Try it in front of this mirror. This was the technique of the performance type. Your nostrils are too big. You remind me of Erkong. Your nostrils are almost covering your face. Can you shrink it a little? Bro, you are hysterical, not angry. Bro, the mirror is crying because of you. Well, for a person with no foundation, it is a bit difficult to use the performance type to act. Let's change our way of thinking. Bro Chen Guang, who is the person that you respect the most since you were a child? The assistant chose to give up the performance type. Chen Guang shook his head. It's my dad. Ugh, bro Yang, wait a minute. I know what you want to say. You must want to say, imagine him being humiliated by someone. What kind of expression should he use to face it? You might really say a few curses to demonstrate, but Brother Yang, with my temper, I'm usually very easy to talk to. I just can't stand people talking bad about my parents. I'm not joking. I really can't say it. Why don't you change your example? I'm really sorry. When the assistant named Yang Shi heard this, he secretly rolled his eyes. If you weren't personally invited by Director Deng, I would really want to strangle you to death. Yang Shi was helpless. Then let's change the person. You are a language teacher in primary school, right? What do you think? Chen Guang was silent. That's my mom. In the end, it was Chen Guang's fake cousin who got implicated. Of course it was useless. In fact, if it was Chen Guang's parents, not only would it be useless, Chen Guang might even have to go to the hospital to recuperate for a while. Well, the method was also an avalanche. Experience type? Yang Shi only wanted to say 2 words. Ah, God had mercy. When Yang Shi was about to collapse, it was lunchtime. The short rest saved his crumbling mind, but it brought him an even more terrifying nightmare. The reason was simple. Big Beard Deng was carrying a lunchbox and strolling over. As Big Beard Deng walked, he stuffed food into his mouth while greeting the crew members who passed by. His steps were very slow, but every step he took was like a blunt knife cutting into Yang Shi's heart, causing him to twitch in pain. At the same time, Qin Guang also knew that his performance this morning was terrible. After 2 hours of struggle, he was faced with a cruel reality. In this world there were indeed people who were born actors. When they stood in front of the camera they were like actors. However, there were also people who were not born actors. When they stood in front of the camera they were like a tragedy. Unfortunately, this tragedy was him. Studying hard for 2 weeks was useless. It only left him with scars. He was helpless. Usually he swindled people and lied with his eyes wide open. He felt no pressure doing these things. Although he had suffered many setbacks during the past 2 weeks of hard work and was jokingly called the worst acting in history by his classmates, Qin Guang still insisted that he could become a qualified actor. They were just playing a harmless joke on him. But after talking with Yang Shi for so long, he finally realized that he was wrong. Very wrong. The White Snake and the other scumbags with their big mouths were not kidding. They were right. They were serious. How embarrassing. How hopeless. Qin Guang also worked very hard. He imagined the scene in his mind. He thought that he was that person. He also knew very well what kind of expression he should make in that situation. But when it came to actual acting, no matter how good he felt about himself, when Yang Shi showed him in the mirror, he felt that he was not acting, but a piece of dead pork that had been frozen in the refrigerator for a year. The play within the play and the play in life were completely different for him. But he really did not want to give up this opportunity. Even if he knew that he did not have the talent to be an actor, he could not just wave goodbye to 100,000 yuan. Kid, how is it? After practicing for the whole morning you should have some results, right? Yang Shi is a good director that I found from the Chinese opera. Although he is young, he is good at teaching actors. As you can see, I really can't get out of my nest. I really can't come out to pick you up. Please don't mind me. Big Beard Deng sat on the stool next to Qin Guang and said with a smile as he ate. This morning's shooting was exceptionally smooth. Big Beard Deng was also in a good mood. His whole face looked ruddy. When he spoke, the big beard on his chin trembled with rice. It was very funny. He really did not get hurt by the curse of hitting villains. Qin Guang looked up and squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. Uncle. Interrupting Qin Guang's words, Deng Xiaojiang patted on Qin Guang's shoulder and continued, You don't have to be polite with me. Naturally, you have to do a good job as well. Although it's only 30 seconds of footage, many people are fighting for it. It is not complicated. It is only a 30-second panoramic shot. You just need to be in the middle of the crowd. As long as your expression is basic, it will be fine. I see that you are a smart kid. Such a simple thing, I am sure you can do it well. With your body, you are simply born to act in a martial arts film. I have high hopes for you. Yang Shi, I will hand him over to you. After this episode, there will be Qin Guang's scenes. You have to take good care of him. Otherwise, I will hold you accountable. Deng Xiaojiang finished speaking and left. He was really busy. He could not even rest for a meal. Big Beard Deng's last words turned into a sharp knife, stabbing into Yang Shi's heart. Qin Guang and Yang Shi looked at each other helplessly. They sighed helplessly. Such a disaster was destined to happen. At this time, Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage came together. Qin Guang and Yang Shi's eyes lit up at the same time. Chapter 86. Qin Guang's eyes lit up. He thought that Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui had finally found their conscience and felt that he had saved their lives, so he should at least give them some compensation. When the time came, even if he had to reluctantly accept it, he would pretend to be unwilling and accept it. Yang Shi's eyes lit up because he finally saw his savior. Although Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage were child stars and had been famous for a long time, the two of them had walked step by step to where they were today and stood out from the other child stars. They did not rely on their unpredictable and shocking backgrounds. More importantly, it was because of their diligence and talent. Deng Xiaojiang had once told Yang Shi that the reason why he had chosen the left-hand and right-hand duo for this movie was because the two of them were very compatible with the temperament of the character he wanted. The other reason was because of their acting skills. Even a great director like Big Beard Deng, who had seen a lot of things, admired them very much. Different from the general young actors, most of whom are mainly methodical and experiential, Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage are out-and-out expressionists. The control of the two's micro-expressions, a frown, a smile, a frown, and a curl of the lips, were all controlled to the pinnacle, not a bit more, not a bit less. Even Big Beard Deng was amazed. It was really rare to see such a young person reach such a realm in the path of expressionism. Usually, top-notch performers were the exclusive domain of veteran actors, but these two had broken this convention. It could only be explained that these two girls were born with excellent acting skills, and had perfect control of their expressions and body details. If not for the fact that the two girls were really young, when Deng Xiaojiang chatted with Yang Shi and his other subordinates, he would have described Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage as masters of expressionism. Yang Shi's current idea was to let Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage, the two top-notch young actors, save Qin Guang, who was a rotten piece of wood that he could not carve. They were his last hope. However, he didn't see that Qin Guang was brought in by Jin Jiang and Li Yinghong. He was also worried that these two big shots wouldn't be willing to lower their status to do such an arduous and unrewarding task. According to Yang Shi's judgment, the difficulty of saving Lord Qin Guang's pathetic acting skills was as high as 9-0. Forget it, I'll bite the bullet and give it a try. After all, this little brother saved the lives of two big shots. If they're not busy, they might agree, right? Yang Shi decided to take a risk. Just as he stood up and summoned his courage to greet the two young bigwigs, Jiang Yage skipped over and sat next to Qin Guang. She slapped Qin Guang's shoulder and almost shook Qin Guang's chopsticks off. Brother Qin Guang, how are you doing? Good luck. I have faith in you. This is your first time in the film and television industry, and you can get 30 seconds of scenes in Big Beard's movie. Seize this opportunity and you'll soar to the sky. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. You're not here to give me money. What are you doing here? Don't talk to me. I just want to find a hole to hide in right now. On the other side, Jiang Yage's super familiar actions and tone made Yang Shi, who hadn't had time to speak, dumbfounded. Since when did she become so easy to talk to? Jin Shirui didn't sit down. Instead, she took the initiative to talk to Yang Shi. Director Yang, you don't look well. Yang Shi was stunned. He wondered what had happened. Why would she care about a small role in the crew? Could it be, is there any difficulty in improving Qin Guang's acting skills? Jin Shirui continued. Well, in fact, she was still concerned about this guy who got in through connections. It had nothing to do with me. But since you've taken the initiative to ask, I'll tell you about my nightmare this morning. About 3 minutes later, Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage finally finished listening to Yang Shi's tearful complaint. Qin Guang was also stunned. Bro, do you have to be like this? I don't have much talent, but I can't possibly hurt a young talent like you, who was praised by Big Beard Deng as a good actor. From what you're saying, you're planning to retire from the industry and wash your hands of gold, right? My acting skills are so tyrannical that I can destroy a young director's worldview and outlook on life? Qin Guang didn't know that at this time, Yang Shi was really worried about him. He felt that Big Beard Deng had handed him over to him and in the end taught him a disaster. Of course, it would make his life gloomy from then on. You two please help me. Director Deng said that the two of you are rare performance masters among the young actors. Please help me give some pointers to little brother Qin Guang, and let him be a little enlightened. He really doesn't have the slightest bit of talent. Even if he knew that his words would offend people, Yang Shi couldn't control his own mouth. When Jiang Yage heard Yang Shi scolding her sweetheart like this, she was immediately unhappy. Director Yang, look at what you're saying. Is our family's brother Qin Guang so unbearable? I really don't like hearing your words. Fine, this lady will personally teach him. Anyway, the next line doesn't include me and Shirui. I don't believe that this rottenwood can be so rotten. Our family's brother Qin Guang? As expected, Jiang Yage's words shocked people to death. Qin Guang, Jin Shirui and Yang Shi were all shocked by her words. Jin Shirui poked Jiang Yage's waist with all her might. She gave her a look. You're going too far. Too far. Jiang Yage laughed mischievously. Just kidding, just kidding. Don't take it seriously. All right, since brother Qin Guang has encountered a problem, us sisters should naturally pull out our swords to help. Yang Shi nodded her head like a chick pecking rice. I'll be relying on you too. An hour later, there were two more actors in this world who were doubting their lives. Jin Shirui and Yang Shi realized that using rotten wood to describe Qin Guang's acting skills was an insult to rotten wood. No matter how capable he was in the water, when it came to acting, he was basically an ironwood slag. Once he sank, he wouldn't be able to get up. Jin Shirui blushed and looked helplessly at Qin Guang. This, she couldn't say it out loud. Jiang Yage was the one who spoke her mind. Brother Qin Guang, everyone is different. God is fair. He opens a window for others, but he will definitely close a door later on. Even if you can't be an actor, it doesn't matter. You're very good in other aspects. Yang Shi also had a bitter expression on his face. He couldn't say a word for a long time. His last life-saving straw had been burned to ashes by the destructive negative acting skills. Master Qin Guang wanted to throw down his armor and run away. He couldn't bear the humiliation. Brother Yang, I'm really sorry. Shirui and Grace, thank you for your help. I Qin Guang know my talent is limited. I'm really not cut out for this job. I'm really sorry for wasting everyone's time. I'll go say goodbye to Director Deng. After saying that, Qin Guang walked in the direction of Deng Xiaojiang. It wasn't that he was willing to give up the 100,000 yuan. It was purely because after such a long period of training, it had no effect. Even if he was thick-skinned, he really didn't have the courage to continue staying here. After saying that, Qin Guang planned to slip away. Qin Guang, come here. It's your turn. Come over and rehearse first. Find the feeling. At that moment, Big Beard Deng had just finished shooting the previous one and charged straight back. Following Big Beard Deng's loud shout, hundreds of pairs of eyes from the entire crew suddenly fell on Qin Guang. He was the top minor character that Big Beard Deng personally selected. These crew members were also very curious. They all wanted to know if this life-saving benefactor could take this opportunity to enter the entertainment industry. After all, Big Beard Deng rarely made a mistake in judging people. Qin Guang's face turned completely white. This time, it was impossible for him to slip away quietly. However, he couldn't just throw away his job in front of so many people and ruin Big Beard Deng's stage. What should the old man do? Really save me. Quick, give me a world and a cup to practice my acting skills. Chapter 87. Unfortunately, Lu Li ignored him because he didn't bring the life-saving artifact with him at all, but left it in the car. Hello Kitty Pink cup cover, I finally messed up. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have been afraid of embarrassing myself and brought the cup with me. I'm going to kneel. Otherwise, I should just stop being lazy and go buy a normal cup cover as soon as possible. Soldiers are trained for 1,000 days to be used in a single moment. Right now, the old man really needs the Holy Grail to save his career, but he left his only savior in the car. I want to die. Deng Xiaojiang called out to him, but seeing that he didn't move, he simply turned around and walked over, laughing as he patted Qin Guang's chest. Kid, weren't you pretty capable before? Why are you so scared now? This isn't like you. Come on, don't be afraid. I'm here to watch. I don't believe that I can't bring you to 30 seconds of the scene. Deng Xiaojiang pulled Qin Guang toward the middle of the crowd of people on the set. There were already quite a few people there. The nearby walk-on actors were so envious that their eyeballs almost popped out. To be brought in by Deng Xiaojiang personally, this was simply a VIP among walk-ons. Director Deng. Qin Guang wasn't a person without integrity. Even if he wanted to get 100,000 yuan, he felt that he couldn't ruin Deng Xiaojiang's reputation and movie. He decided to confess and be lenient. Deng Xiaojiang glared at him. Why are you stuttering? Let me tell you. You're not allowed to back out. To tell you the truth, 100,000 yuan was already prepared for you a long time ago. Originally, even if you didn't succeed, as long as you just got the armor back, I would have given you the full amount. But I can't stand seeing you being so wishy-washy. Today, if you don't stay in my scene for 30 seconds, I'm really going to be thick-skinned and not give it to you. What are you afraid of? I, Deng Xiaojiang, am going to put my reputation on the line. Even if you don't have any talent, I'll still bring you to stay in this movie for 30 seconds. You can even show your face. Deng Xiaojiang didn't know how much Yang Shi had taught Qin Guang, but he felt that even if Qin Guang hadn't learned anything at all, it wouldn't be difficult for him to sell it now. My uncle. Do you have to make such a grand aspiration? I feel like both of us will be put in a difficult position. As a result, the VIP walk-on, Qin Guang, was dragged to the center of the set in a daze by Deng Xiaojiang. Then he was pushed onto the back of a horse and sat behind the general with his neck hunched. He didn't look like a general, but more like a prisoner on his way to the execution ground. After a brief hubbub, the noisy set immediately entered rehearsal mode under Big Beard Deng's orders. At this time, although Big Beard Deng had already seen that Qin Guang's condition was not right, he was still full of confidence. No matter who it was, they would not be able to adapt when they appeared on camera for the first time. 2 hours later, Big Beard Deng was completely dumbfounded. He was extremely picky when it came to making movies. Even the slightest flaw would be seen by him on the monitor, and he had zero tolerance for any flaws. That was why his movies were a perfect combination of commercial and artistic value. But it was a pity that Qin Guang's acting skills couldn't be called flaws, but lightning and fire. Big Beard Deng didn't blame Yang Shi. With his attainments, he could see that it wasn't that Yang Shi didn't work hard, but that Qin Guang was hopeless. A good veteran actor could single-handedly revive an entire movie. A rat's poop could also spoil an entire pot of soup. Unfortunately, Qin Guang was the top-notch rat poop in this pot of soup that could fight 100 by himself. Even though Big Beard Deng had deliberately adjusted the position of the camera so that most of Qin Guang's body was hidden behind the general, only a small part of his face was exposed. But that strong sense of incongruity still broke through the sky again and again. If it weren't for the fact that he had boasted in front of everyone and solemnly promised that he would give him 30 seconds of face time in this movie, Big Beard Deng would have gone out to grab an extra long ago. Rehearsing such a short scene with such a huge crew took 2 whole hours. Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui watched from afar, their palms sweating for Qin Guang and Deng Xiaozheng, the 2 poor men who were riding on a tiger's back. "Director Deng, I think we should take a break first. Everyone is a little tired." Old Ma jumped out in time and became Big Beard Deng's savior. Big Beard Deng was also helpless. It was meaningless to continue wasting time. He waved his hand. "Everyone take a break." Qin Guang jumped off the horse dejectedly. "Director Deng, I think we should just forget about this. I'm really not cut out for this. I'm really sorry for wasting so much of everyone's time." Deng Xiaozheng shook his head. No. This is not your fault. I thought too simply. It's not your fault. You take a break first and adjust yourself. I'll think of a way. You can't leave. Otherwise, where will I put my old face? There must be a way." In the end, Qin Guang did not leave. This matter was no longer just about him. It was about Big Beard Deng's face. Deng Xiaozheng was kind enough to help him. It was fate that made a fool out of him. Qin Guang did not like to leave a mess behind. Yang Shi sat down next to him and sighed. "Actually, this is also my fault. If I had come to you 2 weeks earlier and planned earlier, things might not have turned out like this." Qin Guang shook the armor on his body. Wearing such an armor on such a hot day was actually quite uncomfortable. At the same time, he could be considered to have experienced the pain of being an actor. "Big brother Yang, look at what you're saying. I was the one who messed it up and you guys are taking the blame for it. How can I do that?" As the two were talking, Jiang Yage ran over with a phone. It was the phone that Qin Guang had given to the props team before the audition. She said, "Brother Qin Guang, it's a call for you." She, on the other hand, had become an errand boy. "Thanks." Qin Guang took the phone and saw that it was Sun Xiaoxuan. Well, today's acting was ruined and the swimming competition was cancelled. What an unlucky year. Sun Xiaoxuan asked where he was when he answered the phone. Of course, Qin Guang could not tell the truth. He only said that he was in an emergency and was not at school. Naturally, he could only withdraw from the competition. Sun Xiaoxuan was considerate. He did not ask where he went or what he was doing. Instead, he comforted him. When he finally hung up the phone, Sun Xiaoxuan said that the counselor, Zhuo Jingxi, had been waiting at the swimming pool for 2 hours, but she did not see him. She did not look good, so he asked Qin Guang to go back to school and find a chance to explain it to teacher Zhuo. After hanging up the phone, Master Qin Guang sighed heavily. "This is bad." Sigh. Beside Qin Guang, Jiang Yage, Jin Shirui, and Yang Shi all sighed in unison. Chapter 88. In such a large set, rumors were already flying everywhere. Everyone was whispering endlessly, but because of Big Beard Deng's prestige, no one dared to jump out and accuse him of forcefully pulling Qin Guang into the cast. Of course, almost everyone present also knew that Qin Guang was the big savior of the crew when they encountered the accident in Painting Lake. Although he had delayed their time and things and also wasted a lot of work, not many people were really dissatisfied with Qin Guang. They just felt a headache for him and felt helpless. In addition to Jin Jiang and Jin Yage, the other 4 people who had been saved by Qin Guang also took advantage of the break to come over and thank him profusely. If it weren't for Jiang Yage secretly informing the 4 that she had already taken care of Qin Guang for the day, the 4 of them would have even planned to hold a feast outside to properly thank Qin Guang. Because of this, although the crew and the actors were helpless and unhappy, they all restrained themselves. Many people even began to sympathize with Qin Guang in their hearts, secretly complaining that Big Beard Deng had to go to a dead end. "You said you wanted to express your gratitude and you didn't lack the money. You could have just given him 100,000 yuan, but you insisted on making him reluctantly play such an insignificant role, but it couldn't get past your own picky eyes. Aren't you putting yourself and little brother Qin Guang on the fire to roast? Isn't that embarrassing?" Forget it, anyway. The one who has the biggest headache from delaying the progress of the shoot is you, the chief director Deng Xiaojiang. These 2 hours have already been wasted. If you dawdle a little longer, most of the afternoon will be wasted. There will come a time when you, Big Beard Deng, can't take it anymore? Everyone was thinking this in their hearts, and their mouths were only whispering to each other. They were all waiting for the moment when Deng Xiaojiang accepted his fate and gave up on Qin Guang. After watching for so long and rehearsing so many times, as long as one's eyes weren't blind, they could see it. This little brother Qin Guang really didn't have that kind of ability. What's more, it's you, Big Beard Deng. You're so picky, yet you insist on forcing this lord to do it. You're making things difficult for him, and you're making things difficult for yourself. Unfortunately, Deng Xiaojiang had a stubborn temper. Once he decided on something, he would not turn back until he hit the southern wall. Now his head was almost full of bumps, but he still stubbornly refused to give up. Old Ma had tried to persuade him many times, but Big Beard Deng did not listen. My dear old Deng, look at brother Qin Guang's appearance now. Look at the others too. It's such a hot day, yet everyone is wrapped up tightly in their armor. It's so tiring. Look, everyone is sweating and their faces are red. Isn't this torture? Otherwise, why don't you let little brother Qin Guang off and let you and everyone else go? I'll go get the money and transfer it to him so that he can leave quietly. Okay. Old Ma began to persuade him again. But Deng Xiaojiang was still stubborn. He shook his head. No. This isn't just about me now. Old Ma, think about it. I called brother Qin Guang over, but in the end, I wasted so much effort and let him leave with his tail between his legs. Yes, I gave him the money and the matter ended. But how can I face Qin Guang? Others are sweating, but isn't Qin Guang also tired? The pressure he's under right now is the greatest. I called him over anxiously, but he left with his tail tucked between his legs. What's this? What will others think of him? How disappointed will he be? He can't be like this. He's still a child after all. How much psychological trauma will this cause him? I must try again. If it really doesn't work, I'll pretend to let him pass and redo it later. Old Ma nodded. I guess that's the only way. Let everyone rest for another 15 minutes, then we'll continue? Deng Xiaojiang nodded helplessly. He looked at his watch. It's 3 in the afternoon now. We'll continue at 3:15. I'll pretend to finish this scene at around 4. We'll wait for brother Qin Guang to go back, then we'll redo it. Tell Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage to change their clothes and remove their makeup. They can call it a day. They won't be able to film another scene in the afternoon. So, it's such a pity for such a good talent for martial arts. Actually, whether it's his temperament, figure, or looks, he's the best actor. It's just that his acting skills are unprecedented. Qin Guang also felt that the atmosphere on the set was lifeless. Of course he knew why. This scene couldn't go on and Deng Xiaojiang wouldn't let them leave. It was such a good thing, but it had become such a mess, embarrassing everyone. Zhouya, what do you mean by that? Apologize to brother Qin Guang right now. At that moment, Jiang Yage's voice came from not far away. She had her hands on her hips, glaring at the actor who had played the role of the fugitive strategist like an angry rooster. Beside her, Jin Shirui was trying to persuade her, but Jin Shirui was also looking at Zhouya with disdain. Qin Guang turned his head and saw the 3 of them huddled together, making a ruckus. Zhouya's military robe was half-draped, and he was sweating profusely from the heat. After being questioned by Jiang Yage in such a loud voice, and even asked to apologize to Qin Guang, he looked like he was in a difficult position. He was also depressed. He had only arrived on set a few days ago to participate in the mid-filming, so he wasn't there when the boat incident happened. Although he had heard from others that Qin Guang had saved people, he hadn't experienced it himself, so he didn't feel much about it. Besides, it didn't have much to do with him anyway. Today, because of Qin Guang, the entire cast and crew were delayed. Zhouya was wearing a thick and hot robe and he was feeling especially depressed. He casually complained to the few small-time actors around him, saying that Qin Guang was really thick-skinned, and that he didn't have the slightest bit of ability, yet he still wanted to repay the favor and insisted on joining the cast and crew. Wasn't this a waste of time? Big actors like us, who earn millions every minute, have become trash to accompany him in his studies. All he did was save a few people. Isn't he a little too thick-skinned? These words were coincidentally heard by Jiang Yage, who was standing next to him. This was bad news, as if they had poked a hornet's nest. Jiang Yage had a fearless personality to begin with, so she immediately jumped up and down at Zhouya. How dare you slander my big brother Qin Guang behind my back? I'll tear you apart. Although Zhouya was a veteran in the acting circle, be it fame or background, he was a far cry from his left and right hands. Jiang Ye's attitude immediately put him on the spot. Should he lower his head and admit defeat? No matter what, he was still a senior. How could he raise his head in the future when he was scolded by a junior in front of so many people? Zhou didn't understand. In the past, although the two girls on his left and right hands were big shots, they were still quite amiable in their dealings with others. Although they weren't exactly respectful to the seniors in his circle, they would still treat each other well when they met and chatted. Why was it that he had only said a few bad things about Qin Guang in private, and Jiang Ye was like a lit barrel of dynamite, unwilling to let go? Is there something wrong with your brain? Following Jiang Ye's loud outburst, even more people turned to look at them. Some of them breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts, thinking to themselves that someone had finally stepped forward to speak up for the big guy. Of course, there were also people who were indignant. No matter what, with the kindness of Qin Guang saving the lives of 6 people that day, these people would feel that it was only natural for them to accompany him for another 3 days, much less accompany him for an entire day. Yu Zhouye didn't see the situation at that time. It was really a matter of life and death. 6 lives were lost. Even Jin Shirui and Jiang Ye were among them. This act of bravery for a just cause was priceless. Chapter 89. Seeing that the quarrel had broken out, some people wanted to step forward and mediate. However, the quarrel was between the 2 superstars on one side and the veteran actor Zhouye on the other. The quarrel was rather high-end. If it was not for the fact that the 2 parties were on good terms with each other, ordinary people would not have dared to step in, for fear of bringing trouble upon themselves. Of course, the person who was the most agitated at the moment was Jiang Ye. The other people in the production team who had worked with the 2 of them for a long time had a rough idea of their personalities. Jin Shirui was easier to deal with. She was steady and dignified and would not easily reveal her true colors. Jiang Ye and Jin Shirui were complete opposites. If Jin Shirui was a dignified and beautiful young lady from a respectable family, Jiang Ye was purely an unruly and willful young lady from a rich family. Jiang Ye's personality was not entirely a headache. At least within the production team, she was quite popular. Although she was a big-shot celebrity herself, she never put on any airs. Instead, she could always chat happily with the people around her without any sense of propriety. At the same time, everyone knew that once this lady's temper flared up, it was impossible to hold her back. The dense beard on Big Beard Deng's face had once been chipped off by this lady angrily with a lighter. In the end, the only person who dared to step forward to mediate was Deng Xiaojiang. Alright, what's with the quarrel? Behave yourselves. This is still work, all of you better be serious. Big Beard Deng shouted at the top of his lungs as he walked over. After all, Big Beard Deng was the backbone of everyone on the set. As soon as he moved, many people immediately turned to look at him. When Zhouye saw that Big Beard Deng had been lured over, he instinctively shrunk his neck. Actually, he was not in a good state that day, and he was afraid that Big Beard would take advantage of the situation to teach him a lesson. Jiang Ye, on the other hand, seemed to have found someone to rely on. She pointed at Zhouye and said, "Director Deng, you didn't hear what Zhouye said just now. Qin Guang helped us so much, so how can he speak of him in such a manner? He said that brother Qin Guang wanted to repay his kindness. This is too much." Hearing this, Deng Xiaogang's expression froze. He looked at Qin Guang, who was watching from afar with some shame. On the other side, Zhouye knew that things were not looking good when she saw Deng Xiaogang's expression. It seemed that Director Deng really cared about Qin Guang's feelings. If Jiang Ye had not pointed this out, perhaps the situation could have been eased. Now that things had come to this, Zhouye might as well throw caution to the wind. He stiffened his neck and said loudly, "Am I wrong? Yes. I knew he had saved someone. It was a great act of heroism." But could this be confused with whether he could act or not? Everyone knows that Director Deng's attitude towards making movies is one of the most serious and rigorous people in the industry. He strives for perfection. Our movie is also one of the most anticipated domestic blockbusters of the year on the internet. If Qin Guang really had the slightest ability to act well and could pass this scene under Director Deng's standards, of course it would be great news for everyone. As he said this, Zhouye gulped again. He carefully observed everyone's expressions and continued, "But now? How long has it been? It's been almost a whole day." Everyone could clearly see that he really didn't have the ability to do so, yet he still insisted on doing it. Director Deng owed him a favor, so he could not bring himself to make things clear. "But we are making a movie and we are doing art. We can't make do with this. The millions of people in the country will not agree to this. Since that's the case, someone has to stand up and be the bad guy. Zhouya will take care of this bad guy today. It doesn't matter if I offend people, make everyone unhappy or make them unhappy, Zhouya will accept it. Although Deng Xiaojing was determined to let Qin Guang rehearse again, he could not deny that what Zhouya said made sense. He had already decided to pretend to let Qin Guang cross the line. This was the only compromise he could make. But on the surface he did not agree with Zhouya's opinion, so he glared at him and said, "Shut up. Whether my decision is right or wrong, I will take responsibility for it. It's not up to any of you to point your fingers and meddle in my affairs." As soon as Deng Xiaojing said this, his eyes widened. The prestige of a famous director was on full display, and everyone immediately kept quiet out of fear. Everyone, including Zhouya, suddenly remembered that no matter what, the person standing in front of them was Deng Xiaojing. Don't be fooled by his cheerful appearance, but when he really got angry, he was famous in the industry for not giving a damn about his own family. If he insisted on something, everyone had to shut up. As a famous director, he had this kind of temper and arrogance. Seeing that the situation had reached a boiling point, Qin Guang made up his mind. He stood up and said, "Director Deng. Qin Guang, don't mind me. I Deng Xiaojing always keep my word. Whether it's right or wrong in my crew, I have the final say." Deng Xiaojing interrupted Qin Guang. Qin Guang knew that his uncle was determined to stand up to him. Even if it meant offending a famous actor, he would not hesitate. To be honest, Qin Guang was very touched. He never thought that Deng Xiaojing would side with him like this. Deng Xiaojing had only saved a few people, yet Qin Guang had embarrassed him so much that he had no choice but to act unreasonable in front of everyone. Qin Guang felt very guilty. Qin Guang made a decision, "Director Deng. Call me uncle." Fine. He was interrupted by Deng Xiaojing again. Deng Xiaojing meant that he didn't even care about the investors anymore. He would just treat him as his nephew. He was going to waste an entire day's worth of investors' money for his nephew. "Fine, uncle. This is what I think. I really want to try, but it's already been a whole day. If I keep wasting time like this, I'll be letting everyone down. How about this, we compromise? I'll just rehearse one more time. If it still doesn't work, I won't say anything and we'll leave immediately. Uncle, even if you want me to stay, I won't be able to. I really don't have the face to stay. Apart from that, I also want to apologize to Mr. Zhouya, as well as all the other crew members and actors who were delayed by me. Because of me, everyone has worked so hard. If that was it, then the matter would end here. Forget it, let's not rehearse for the next one. Let's just shoot it. If it succeeds, it succeeds. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work," Qin Guang said firmly. Seeing his determined and serious expression, Deng Xiaojing sighed helplessly in his heart. "Fine, it turns out you have a stubborn temper. You really suit my taste. It's just a pity your acting skills. Sigh. Fine, let's rest for another 10 minutes. Then we'll start shooting. Let's shoot it." Deng Xiaojing put the final nail in the coffin. Jiang Yage couldn't be bothered to continue arguing with Zhouya. She quickly ran over to Qin Guang and said, "Time is tight. Let's practice one last time." Qin Guang shook his head. "No, let me tell you, I was too nervous before in front of the camera. That's why I didn't perform well. I put the glass of water in the car. Let me drink some water to calm myself down. I promise when I get back from the shock, this shot will definitely make you look at me in a different light. Otherwise, I'll dig out my own eyes. In this life, not only will I never act in a movie again, I won't even watch one." When he spoke, Qin Guang's tone was resolute and decisive. He was filled with unprecedented confidence and resolution. After saying this, Qin Guang ran out of the set in his armor and went straight to the parking lot. His movements were so fast that Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage were completely caught off guard. When they came to their senses, he was already far away. Jin Shirui looked at Jiang Yage in a daze. "Yage, what did he just say? Drink some water to calm himself down? He'll be able to act well after he calms himself down?" Jiang Yage nodded vigorously. "Yes." Yang Shi sighed. "I think what he wants to drink must be juice from the Queen Mother of the West Flat Peach. Otherwise, how could he be so confident?" Lord Qin Guang didn't care what other people thought. At that moment, he was sitting in the car, holding the pink kitty Holy Grail and carrying out an extremely difficult negotiation. "Sister Lioli. My elder sister. My empress. My grand-aunt. Old man kneels to you. You must save me this time. Save me. Otherwise I'm dead meat. Come out and show yourself, or I'll slit my throat in front of you. Be good, don't make a fuss and help me. If I screw up this time, I really won't be able to live on." The glazed bodhisattva who saves me from suffering, please have pity on me and help me out. Holding the glass with both hands, Mr. Qin Guang, who had been so confident in front of everyone, was now wailing and wailing at the glass. This was really a negotiation. A negotiation between a man and a glass. Chapter 90. Unfortunately, it didn't matter if he threatened her with death, cried to the heavens and earth, or called her Great Aunt. Emperor of the Azure didn't make a move no matter what. The bikini beauty on the heavenly Holy Grail was still as mysterious and unmoving as a mountain. After the incident at Wenxing Town Branch, Qin Guang was 100% sure that Emperor of the Azure knew what he was talking about. She was just pretending to be a fool and pretending to be profound. Hearing those words, Qin Guang's forehead was covered in black lines. Even if you want to play deep, I can't bring myself to respect you in your bikini. No way. Now that things had come to this, the old man could only use his trump card. I'll let you see what it means to have no moral integrity and no lower limit. The old man will fight it out with you. Alright, since you insist on pretending to be offline, then don't blame the old man for using his trump card. You forced me to do this. I'll fight it out with you. Otherwise, give me the world in a cup to practice my acting skills. Otherwise, hee. As Qin Guang spoke, he opened the cup and drank the remaining half of the tea in one gulp. Then he poured the tea leaves away. Following that, he closed the car window and locked the car door. Then he swiftly unbuckled the belt of his armor. He hated that he was wearing armor and didn't have the familiar zipper. It made his domineering actions less powerful. However, it didn't matter. As expected, the Emperor of the Azure, who had been complacently in the world in a cup, had an ominous thought when she saw this scene. Looking at this grandson's posture, he was going to use that trick. This bastard was going to piss on the cup. Are you really going to break the limit of how low you can go in my billions and billions of years of life? I'm one of the top 10 god emperors in the endless heavenly realm, and I'm being threatened by a mere mortal like you. You should at least maintain basic respect for me, the god emperor. I really want to strangle this guy to death. When Qin Guang completely unbuckled his belt and was ready to take off his armor, Emperor of the Azure knew that she could not remain silent any longer. With Qin Guang's personality, he really could do it. Hey. Don't go too far. The next time you enter the cup world, I'll let you have a taste of my goddess's 3 days and 3 nights. Emperor of the Azure couldn't hold it in any longer. She roared in Qin Guang's mind, don't you know that I'm preparing for the next world in the cup? You forced me to come out and talk nonsense with you again. You've wasted my divine power and the energy of the heavenly Holy Grail for nothing. Believe it or not, you won't even have a health pot next time. You good for nothing. Can you not disturb me every time you encounter something? You're the God's chosen savior, can you learn to be self-reliant? Seeing that this woman finally couldn't hold it in any longer, Qin Guang was relieved. He was most afraid that she would completely disappear. As long as she appeared, there would definitely be room for discussion. He only asked, sis, don't joke around. You've already said that since I'm the God's chosen savior, I know that I have a very cool and domineering cheat. Wouldn't I be stupid if I didn't ask you for help when I'm in a bad situation? You're right. I have nothing to say to that. Emperor of the Azure was instantly defeated. Qin Guang grinned. At least you know what's good for you. Hurry up and give me a world in the cup to improve my acting skills. Hurry up and stop talking nonsense. I really don't have that. The preparation work isn't complete yet. If you activate the world in the cup, you might die in there. Besides, even if I can give you the world in the cup now, it's impossible for you to practice your acting skills. Young man, wake up. Right now, the heavenly Holy Grail is only the most basic level. It's just for you to practice your English. At the same time, the Sea of Moments in the immortal heaven also gave you a great body. Or perhaps it's just to practice your gaming skills. These things that rely on reflexes and a little experience aren't a problem. However, acting skills are much more difficult than the previous 2 times. This requires you to have perfect control of your own emotions. More importantly, you need to be very familiar with the emotional changes of the character you're playing. This requires much more knowledge than learning English and playing games. You'll need at least the world in the cup, which is the 2nd level of heaven. For now, you'd better save it. Emperor of the Azure decisively rejected. There's no world in the cup. There's no room for discussion. Even if you want to pee into the cup, I'll accept it. Emperor of the Azure said seriously. I don't care. Anyway, you have to help me this time. If I can't act today, I won't live anymore. I'll let you have a taste of the holy virgin water that the old man has kept for so many years. Whatever you say is useless. You better be more like it. You have to know that you'll still have to use this cup to drink water later. Emperor of the Azure felt like her divinity was about to collapse. Qin Guang said coldly, "Oh ho ho ho, for the sake of money, for the sake of the old man's reputation, I can totally overcome this difficulty. That's 180,000 yuan in total. That's enough for my mother's medical expenses for 9 months. For the sake of money, I'm going all out. I'm going to perish together with you. Don't you have the divine spell to control emotions? Give me one. I want to become the best actor in a second." Relying on the fact that he was the only savior, old Master Qin Guang was so desperate, so shameless, and so unscrupulous. He would only win if he was willing to fight. But look at me, I'm already wearing a bikini. If I do it again, I'll be naked. Besides, the next world in the cup will also be affected. I might not even be able to keep Mosaic's nutrition pod. You're such a short-sighted person. You can't be this shameless. You're forcing a good girl to be a prostitute. This old lady is a decent god emperor. How am I going to raise my head and be a god in the future? Lioli deeply experienced a famous saying on Earth that she had just learned not long ago. She was the golden finger that could take him to show off and fly, but he didn't hesitate to put down his moral integrity for the sake of a small profit in front of him. Killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. Shameful. Stupid. Mortal. Qin Guang chuckled. Didn't I buy a cute jacket for you? Look at this pink, how cute is it? Besides, I also swear to God that even if you really become naked, I will absolutely not take this cup off. I guarantee that you won't be exposed. After a period of time, won't your lustrous feathered dress slowly recover? As for the world and the cup being affected, who cares so much? In any case, I need your help now. I can't wait for a second. I can't even get through the current difficulties and the avalanche is about to happen. Who cares about what will happen in the future? Stop talking nonsense. I think you won't accept a toast only to be punished. Old man will let you see my determination. Take this. After saying that, he really intended to untie his belt. Chapter 91. Emperor of the Azure's face was livid. Young man, you're courting death. The next time you come in, I'll strangle you to death. Ah, I don't even want my face anymore. Why would I be afraid of death? Friend, you're too naive. Give me a definite answer. Are you doing it or not? Qin Guang had decided that he would be a big villain with an immunity card. Anyway, he had Lioli in his grasp. He was the only one who couldn't die. After about 10 seconds of silence, seeing that Qin Guang was really about to pull down his pants, Emperor of the Azure finally gritted her teeth and said heavily, "I'll do it. But you'd better keep your word. Don't remove the condom on the heavenly holy grail. Otherwise, humph humph." Qin Guang nodded heavily. A man's words carry enormous weight. You're such a B****, and you have the cheek to say that I'm a man? I'm really unlucky to have chosen you. Cut the crap and bring me to your whatever filming site. Remember not to let me leave your side. When you get on the horse, I'll give you a super domineering top-notch mind control. You'll have top-notch acting skills for at least half an hour. But I'll say the ugly words first. No matter how capable or arrogant you are now, when you witness the weakened world in the cup and the kind comfort I'll give you, you'll definitely not want to repeat today's mistakes. You'd better be mentally prepared. Lioli was really furious. Master Qin Guang didn't panic at all. Anyway, you can't beat me to death. Why would I be afraid of you? With the artifact in hand, I have the world. Hiding the cup under his armor, Qin Guang whistled as he returned to the filming site. His face was brimming with a confident smile. He felt that life was just so beautiful. Jiang Yage saw him walking over from afar and exclaimed, "I don't know why, but I feel that his face is practically glowing. It's so dazzling." Jean Shirua didn't believe it. She also turned to look. It's true. Yang Shi turned pale with fright. Could it be that this guy really has some kind of miraculous elixir that can turn a pathetic rookie into a phoenix in an instant? You guys changed your clothes just like that? Qin Guang leisurely stood in front of Jin Ling and Jiang Yu. He was in the mood to comment on their clothes, completely forgetting that he was still in a terrible fix because of his acting skills. It couldn't be helped. People with backing were just that confident. Can you stop showing off? Jiang Yage rushed forward and grabbed Qin Guang's shoulder. She pointed at Joya and said, "Come on, let's hurry up and practice again. You've already talked big. This is really your last chance. You're not really thinking of apologizing to that guy, are you?" Poor Joya. Before this, Jiang Yage had called him senior, but now he had become a fellow. Following the direction of Jiang Yage's finger, Qin Guang looked over and saw Zhouya looking in their direction with a helpless expression. Zhouya had no other choice. Deep down he really didn't want to offend these two. Unfortunately, what was done could not be undone. Things had already come to this. He could only hope that when this guy apologized to him, he would take the opportunity to act magnanimous and mend their relationship. How could I have imagined that you two big shots would care so much about this young man? Jin Shuiwei pressed Jiang Ye's hand down and said to Qin Guang, Solomon is right. Qin Guang, you should practice some more. Drinking water can only calm your nerves. You can't possibly turn someone into an Oscar winner, right? Qin Guang waved his hand. No need to practice. I'll just do it. No matter who tried to persuade him, it was useless. He knew that it would be a waste of time for him to practice. He only had half an hour to act as an Oscar winner. Of course, good steel had to be used where it mattered most. They didn't rest for long. Following Deng Xiaojiang's orders, everyone went back to filming. Although everyone was a professional, there were still quite a few people who subconsciously focused their attention on Qin Guang. The actual filming hadn't even started yet, but Deng Xiaojiang had already shouted, "Cut!" many times. He pointed at many people's faces and sprayed them with saliva. Only then did the people in the camera finally adjust their state of mind. As for the idlers outside the camera, they didn't have to worry. They all held their breaths and waited with rapt attention for the last scene of Qin Guang's life. How pitiful. After today's performance, he would probably have a shadow in his heart whenever he saw the set again. At that moment, Deng Xiaojiang looked at Qin Guang, who was riding on a warhorse and wearing a suit of armor. He also felt that the wind was bleak and the water was cold, and that the hero would never return. He silently prayed in his heart, "Brother Qin Guang, have a safe journey." Although Zhouya couldn't turn his head to look at Qin Guang, he still thought to himself, "I've really underestimated this kid's shamelessness. If it were me, I would have left a long time ago. I never thought that he would actually dare to come back." He mounted his horse again and stood in front of the camera. "Keep trying to show off. I'd like to see how embarrassed you are later. If you're really here to apologize sincerely, then I'll reluctantly forgive you for the sake of Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Ye." On the other side, Jin Shuiwei, Jiang Ye and Yang Shi seemed to have foreseen the ending. They stood far away with their fists clenched tightly and tears in their eyes. This was, after all, a brave warrior's last desperate charge. Today, Qin Guang was just as miserable, tragic and resolute as Don Quixote. Even if he failed in the end, he was still worthy of respect. At the very least, he didn't become a deserter. Jiang Ye's eyes sparkled as she watched. If her previous impression of Qin Guang had been that he was her savior, then right now, she felt that she had reacquainted herself with this person who was the same age as her. No matter what, the current him was really very handsome. Most people wouldn't be able to stand in front of the camera as courageously as he did after suffering such a serious injury. That really required a lot of courage. Jiang Ye felt that his confident smile was as handsome as the blazing sun in the sky. Beside her, Jin Shuiwei didn't say a word either. Her beautiful eyes looked at Qin Guang with sparkling eyes and her breathing gradually slowed down. She was even more nervous than Qin Guang himself. On the other side, Deng Xiaojiang took a deep breath and waved his hand. 3, 2, 1. Ready. Go. Lioli. Let's do it. When Deng Xiaojiang shouted ready, Qin Guang suddenly roared in his heart. He immediately felt a warm current flowing from his waist, instantly occupying his entire mind. This warm current was like a brush covered in ink, fiercely brushing across Qin Guang's scalp. A strong and irresistible subconscious suggestion swept through his brain like a tidal wave, occupying his consciousness. These hints were constantly telling him, "You're a best actor. The strongest best actor. Your acting skills can break through the heavens." Qin Guang was clearly aware of every change in his consciousness, but he couldn't understand it at all. He finally understood how Wu Tong felt back then. Even though he knew that with his deceptive acting skills, he wouldn't even be able to touch the toes of a best actor, he still believed it. Emperor of the Azure's hypnosis was simply too amazing. Even if he didn't believe it, he had to believe it. This was like a fugitive holding a knife to your neck and asking you to accept $1 million in cash. You had to cry and kneel to accept it. The next moment, Qin Guang's expression changed. Brother. This was best actor. Born best actor. Chapter 92. This was exactly what Yang Shi had wanted: anger, belligerence, a hint of excitement and a hint of madness. As a deputy general who longed to make a name for himself and shed blood for his general, he had no choice but to suppress his high fighting spirit before the two sides officially started fighting. At that moment, Qin Guang was just sitting there on his horse, but he gave off the feeling of a general who had been on the battlefield for many years. But this was not the end. He had also grasped the state that a deputy general should be into the pinnacle, no more no less, just right. He had done a much better job than Yang Shi had requested, countless times better. Big Beard Deng's eyes were wide open as he stared at the screen. There were a total of 8 monitors in front of him, 2 of which were focused on Qin Guang's face from different angles. After so many rehearsals, the other actors had already found the feeling. Deng Xiaojiang only cared about Qin Guang's performance. When he saw Qin Guang's impeccable performance, Deng Xiaojiang was so excited that his eyes were brimming with tears. The last time he had been moved to tears by an actor's acting had been many years ago. Deng Xiaojiang thought he had almost forgotten the feeling of being moved on the set. His so-called pursuit of artistic creation had gradually become a numb, mechanical repetition. He had even felt that he had lost the joy of filming. But today he had tears in his eyes as he looked at the monitor. He had even forgotten to shout, "Cut," until the end of the scene. This is obviously just the performance of an insignificant supporting character. Why am I witnessing such a masterful performance? He felt that the entire afternoon's delay was worth it for Qin Guang's perfect performance. It was old Ma who was next to him, who was desperately poking his waist, that pulled Deng Xiaojiang back from his dazed state. He quickly waved his hand. Okay, passed. He passed this test. Really passed. It's not fake." Deng Xiaojiang's reaction left everyone scratching their heads in confusion. Only old Ma, who was at the side, knew what he meant. The other actors in the camera looked at each other. Did Director Deng mean that they could call it a day? Zhouye turned his head around and stared intently at Qin Guang's face. He did not manage to see how the man had acted earlier, and he only felt that it was too unbelievable. How could it be over? Is Director Deng trying to fool us? He then looked at the other staff on the set, only to find that they were all looking at Qin Guang as if they had discovered a new continent. What the hell was going on? I can't understand it. Jiang Yage had already rushed to Qin Guang and shouted, "I knew you could do it. You can do it. You are a natural-born actor. Oh no, a natural-born best actor. This is the first time you've ever been on screen and you're already able to act like this. My God. I feel like I've wasted the last 10 years of my career in movies." Jean Shuiwei was not as excited as Jiang Yage, but her face was also flushed, and she could not stop smiling. Yang Shi, on the other hand, collapsed on the beach chair as if he had collapsed. "My God, big brother, don't play with my heart like that. The contrast between what you did and what you did was too big. My outlook on life is about to be destroyed." All the signs pointed to Qin Guang really doing it. Zhouye fiercely shook his head. He was a veteran actor, someone who was well versed in how to become a qualified actor. Even if you beat him to death, he would never believe that Qin Guang could actually put on such a stunning performance in just a single day. You guys are not pretending to be amazed so that he will think that he passed and then take the money and leave with a clear conscience, are you? But your acting is over the top. This is too much. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I don't believe that he really passed. There must be something wrong. Zhouye shouted in a daze and rushed to the monitor. At that moment, Big Beard Deng was watching the close-up of Qin Guang's expression on the monitor with a group of people behind him. He clicked his tongue in wonder. Seeing that Zhouye still did not believe him, he was a little annoyed. Big Beard Deng stood up. "Zhouye, if you're willing to bet, you're willing to admit defeat. This is very disappointing. Fine, you might think that it's impossible and unrealistic. Then come and see for yourself. I'd like to see if you have the cheek to say that he hasn't passed the scene yet. Come and see for yourself." Big Beard was tall and strong and he had a fiery temper. He rushed forward and grabbed Zhouye, who was swinging over like a ghost, by the back of his shirt and placed him directly in front of the monitor. Then he shoved Zhouye's head forward, almost knocking it. "Come closer and look. Look closely." Zhouye's eyes widened and he stared at the monitor. He really could not accept it. But he was not stupid. He only watched for 5 seconds and he understood. This kid has really brought a supporting role to life. It's true. He's been reborn. Zhouye sat on the ground, his expression as if he had seen a ghost. The others on the set did not react as exaggeratedly as Zhouye, but at that moment, all of them looked shocked. Many of the young actresses looked at Qin Guang with admiration. If it were not for Jiang Yage hanging around Qin Guang all the time, these young actresses would probably have gone up to Qin Guang and flirted with him. Qin Guang had already expected these people to be so shocked. He only felt that it was a pity. He had prepared half an hour of acting, but in the end, the old man had only just started showing off, and all of them had already failed. This is not right. You bunch of weaklings. The old man still has at least 10,000 kinds of amazing acting skills that he has yet to show. The old man felt like he had painstakingly cultivated a peerless divine skill, and finally arranged to fight his lifelong enemy at the summit of Mount Hua. In the end, he had only pulled out a small part of his sword, and the excess sword chi that came out of the scabbard had instantly killed his lifelong enemy. It was so unbearable. If I had known that the heavenly Holy Grail was so powerful, I wouldn't have wasted so much effort and time for nothing. Wouldn't everything have been fine if I had taken out the divine artifact earlier? I'm so *ket up. Forget it, I'll forgive you bunch of ignorant country bumpkins for the sake of the 80,000 yuan bonus. Show off all you want. Just you wait. Soon I'll teach you how to be an adult. Go ahead and use your imagination to see what the health pod will become if it shrinks even further. I'm telling you, the next world in the cup, I'll definitely set a new low for you. This is all your own doing. No. I'll kick you if you don't. The Emperor of the Azure's voice rang out at an inopportune moment. Qin Guang pursed his lips and thought to himself, keep scaring me. The old man grew up being scared. Chapter 93. Seeing that he was stubborn, Emperor of the Azure gritted her teeth and said angrily, fine, you win. This emperor will leave first. I have to think of a way to at least save your life. Otherwise you'll really play yourself and me to death. Why am I so unlucky? I met such a scammer as you. My corium or divine eyes are really blind. As Emperor of the Azure's hysterical roar gradually dissipated, Qin Guang's feeling of being hypnotized into a movie king also quickly faded. Facing this woman's threat, Qin Guang indifferently rolled his eyes. The old man is a protagonist-level man with a godly artifact. His life is so hard that he doesn't care about anything else. Even if the sky falls down, there's still you, the dignified emperor, to support it. What am I afraid of? If there's really a possibility of going overboard, I believe that even if you have intimate contact with the virgin holy water, you won't agree. Qin Guang finally grasped Liuli's weak point. There's no other way, this brother is just so confident. Just as he was complacently pretending to be pretentious, Jiang Yage directly rushed in front of him and opened her arms. Yo. This brother has become a movie king, and immediately there's a cute girl throwing herself into my arms? Looking at Jiang Yage's appearance from the beginning to the end, and the expression on her face at this time, she is 100% in love with my charm. This feeling is good. Well, it's time for me to let go of my unnecessary reservation and shyness. As long as I can get this little girl, the millions of dollars that my family owes me are nothing. In order to make it easier for my father, in order to cure my mother's illness, I don't hesitate to sacrifice my body. My little sister Yage, don't stop, continue to hug me. I vaguely remember you're tall and plump, that taste is unforgettable. Then Jiang Yage patted his shoulder and said with a smile, oh, you did a good job, young man. Qin Guang didn't guess wrong. Jiang Yage almost couldn't help but throw herself into his arms. However, considering that they were in public, she didn't have that many taboos. But she knew that she was an eye-catching star after all, and Qin Guang was just an ordinary college student. If she behaved too intimately with him in public, it might bring a devastating disaster to Qin Guang's normal life. In the end, she managed to hold it in. She was indeed a top-notch performer. The expression on her face was natural, like a magic trick. Even Qin Guang was fooled. Diske, since you're not going to throw yourself at me, then why are you opening your hands? You're not a crab, so why are you wasting my expression? Won't this cause misunderstandings? Qin Guang rolled his eyes. Thank you for your compliment, but don't you know who I am? Are you kidding me? He quickly went to collect the 80,000 first, lest Zhou Yaoyuo ran away. A long night is fraught with trouble. He rushed to the monitor. Zhouya had just recovered from his daze, but when he turned around he saw Qin Guang standing next to him with a smile on his face. Zhouya first looked at Big Beard Deng, who was standing next to him without saying a word. He made up his mind and finally lowered his noble head slightly. Qin Guang, I'm very sorry for my rudeness just now. I'm sorry? Zhouya's lowering of his head meant that all of the crew's dissatisfaction with Qin Guang that day had vanished. After all, his last live performance was impeccably perfect. It also proved that the previous 2 hours of hard work had been completely worth it. Many people even thought to themselves that this was the kid's first time acting, yet he was already so perfect and eye-catching. They were afraid that it wouldn't be long before there would be another young best actor in the Chinese entertainment industry. The younger generation would surpass the older in time. Qin Guang waved his hand nonchalantly. Mr. Zhou, let bygones be bygones. I understand that you were just being responsible for the movie. Uncle, let's just forget about it. Please don't blame Mr. Zhou. Of course, Qin Guang was not such a magnanimous person. However, seeing that this old man had rushed out to act like an adorable child of wealth, Qin Guang really couldn't bear to be cold to him. Even if he didn't care about the monk's face, he still cared about the money. Zhouya's face alternated between red and white. He had just been thinking that he should be more magnanimous when this person apologized to him because of his connections. He never thought that the tides would turn. Instead, it was this kid who was the first to put on an attitude of letting bygones be bygones. How shameful. Mr. Chen's magnanimity makes me feel ashamed. Thank you for your magnanimity, Mr. Chen. Zhouya cupped his hands and bowed his head. But Mr. Zhou, I still remember your bet. This is my PayPal account number. Mr. Zhou, why don't you transfer the money first? Qin Guang swiftly pulled out his phone and held it out in front of Zhouya. Every minute that the money was not in his pocket was another minute of restlessness. Zhouya was speechless. Deng Xiaojing smacked Qin Guang's head in annoyance. You little brat, Zhouya is a big shot. Do you think he'd go back on his word? You're such a shady person. Qin Guang chuckled. Someone who refused to lend me his pants and caused my savior to run around the lake naked has no right to say that I'm shady. Do you still want that 100,000? You're my uncle. Don't stoop to my level. Qin Guang was decisive. 10 minutes later, Qin Guang returned to the car. He took out the heavenly holy grail from his sleeve and put it in the cup holder. Qin Guang lay on the driver's seat, glancing at the balance displayed on his PayPal from time to time. He was grinning so widely that his mouth was about to split open. Oh my God. I've only shown off a little, and that's 180,000 yuan in my account. About 30 seconds later, Qin Guang cried. With a shake of his hand, Fu Zhibao transferred the money to his father's account. Dad, don't ask me how I got this money. In any case, your son didn't break the law and earned it properly. Mom's medical expenses for this year should be enough, right? Don't make it too hard on yourself. Don't buy cigarettes that cost less than 10 yuan. It's too harmful to your body. Don't tell Mom that I've earned so much money. She's worried for nothing. I love your son, Qin Guang. After sending a text to his father, Qin Guang decisively blacklisted him. Needless to say, his father definitely had a lot to ask him. It was no joke. For a university student who hadn't even graduated to suddenly throw out 180,000 yuan, Qin Guang knew that his father had always been thick-skinned and wasn't afraid of being scared. Otherwise, he would be worried that his father would give him a heart attack. But I'm a righteous person. I earn money with my own abilities. I don't go against my conscience. Alright, I earn money with Lioli's abilities. A minute later, old Master Qin Guang cried again. His father replied with a text. Son, well done. But you have to explain to me clearly how you earned this money. It has to be the right way. You can't risk your life. Otherwise, I'll come to Wujing to look for you with a bundle of thorns on my back. Do as you see fit. Also, Wujing City Hospital informed me to bring your mother here for a checkup in a few days. There's a chance she can get a kidney transplant. I reckon that the 200,000 yuan we have now isn't enough. I plan to sell the house under your uncle's name. It should be able to sell for about 300,000 yuan. That'll be just enough to raise the 500,000 yuan. After this, your mother and I will rent a house to live in. Don't be too tired and study hard. In the future, our family will still have to rely on you, a university student. I love your father very much, Qin Guoli. Qin Guang sucked in a breath of cold air. The house under his uncle's name was the family's last property. If he sold it, his father, who had worked hard for most of his life, would end up renting a house at his old age. That would be too miserable. Fine, the most pressing shortfall is still 300,000 yuan. My heart is so tired. Dad, your love is so deep. Your son feels a lot of pressure. Chapter 94. Actually, before they left the set, Deng Xiaojing was trying his best to keep Qin Guang in the production team. He tried all sorts of ways to persuade Qin Guang to stay, and he was just short of changing the role of the male lead to Qin Guang. Qin Guang was tempted, but he didn't dare to accept it. He really didn't have the courage and guts to do so. He didn't need to think too much to know how much was in this bottle of water of his. Becoming the best actor once had already forced Emperor of the Azure to the brink of collapse. The next world in the cup would obviously make her feel so good that she would explode into the sky. Do it again? Rely on the heavenly holy grail to become the best actor? The old man hasn't lived long enough. The same trick, if I use it too many times, it will definitely go wrong. Don't think that I'm shameless and have no moral integrity, and that I've overexploited the heavenly Holy Grail and the colored glazed divine emperor, completely disregarding sustainable development, but in fact I have a very subtle limit in my heart. How to get along with Emperor of the Azure, how to develop the heavenly Holy Grail's power to a greater extent, how to control the degree of courting death, this is a great knowledge that no one has ever learned before. Minors shouldn't learn it easily, it could cost their lives. Therefore, Qin Guang didn't dare to stay any longer. He had to run away no matter what, so he turned around and left. His departure made Jiang Yage and Jin Shirue, who had just changed their clothes and had yet to remove their makeup, extremely anxious. Big Beard Deng had already said that both of their scenes were over for the day. Of course, Jiang Yage wouldn't let this rare day of vacation go to waste. She decided without hesitation that she would go out with Qin Guang today to further their understanding and relationship. For a celebrity of her level, this was a once-in-a-lifetime vacation that she couldn't even beg for. Originally, she was worried that Jin Shirue wouldn't be willing to go with her. She didn't expect that the moment she brought up this idea, Jin Shirue would agree without hesitation. As for Qin Guang, how could he refuse? Jiang Yage wasn't worried. Because when she was helping Qin Guang get his phone, she found something interesting. She felt that she could use this to make Qin Guang obediently submit. On the other hand, Qin Guang had gotten his money and transferred it out. His acting career had come to an end. He didn't know if he would have a chance to get close to Big Beard Deng in the future. He felt a little regretful. In short, Qin Guang felt that this uncle was really a good person. If he came to Wujing City to play or have a vacation in the future, he would do his best as a host and take him to the scenic spots around Wujing City. Qin Guang really didn't understand what the life of a top director like Deng Xiaojiang was like. He didn't even know the difference between the so-called upper-class life and himself, an ordinary person. He felt that with his identity as a student, this was the only thing he could do to repay Deng Xiaojiang. Just as he was about to start the car, there was a sudden squeak of brakes outside the window, followed by the loud roar of the sports car engine. His ears were almost numb. "Oh, you're so wicked. Does your family know?" "Believe it or not, I'll use my key ring to drive from the front door to the back door. What's so great about sports cars? When I have money I'll buy two. I'll drive one and smash the other." Qin Guang turned his head. "Oh, an acquaintance. Forget it, I'll forgive you. I'm such a principled person." Jin Shirue's head was leaning against the window of a Ferrari 488 that was so red that it looked like it was about to drip blood. Her pair of beautiful eyes were staring at Qin Guang. Further away, Jiang Yage was sitting in the driver's seat, proudly blinking at Qin Guang. What are these two people doing? Why does the old man have an ominous premonition? At this point, Qin Guang was also in despair. Obviously, Jiang Yage, this blind woman, didn't intend to take out money to express her gratitude. Perhaps Jiang Yage felt that their friendship was priceless, much more valuable than the 100,000 yuan reward. Unfortunately, Qin Guang thought in his heart, "Heroine, I don't need such a noble friend like you. The friendship of a celebrity can't be eaten. You should give me some money to be more practical." "Hey brother Qin Guang, where are you going in such a hurry?" Jin Shirue was too embarrassed to speak, but Jiang Yage gritted her teeth and spoke loudly. As she spoke, her body was still pressing towards Jin Shirue. It was also a pity that Jin Shirue didn't know how to drive. Otherwise, perhaps Jiang Yage would directly exchange seats with her. It only took Qin Guang less than a day to completely see through Jiang Yage. He was no longer as embarrassed and nervous as when they first met in the morning. He only felt that this must be a troublesome person. Her status as a celebrity might seem quite intimidating, but that's all there was to it. If it was not necessary, he really didn't want to have any contact with this person. Therefore, Qin Guang rolled his eyes and said, "Aren't I still in college? I have to go back to school to study and prepare for the CET4 exam in 2 weeks." He thought that this would make Jiang Yage back off, but he didn't expect this woman to reveal a face of ecstasy. "Really? What a coincidence. I have long heard that the campus of Gokyo University is beautiful, like the gardens of Jiangnan. I have admired it for a long time and wanted to go take a look. Since brother Qin Guang is a student of Gokyo University, why don't you be a tour guide for me and sister Shirue?" Qin Guang was also aback. "Me be a tour guide for the two of you? I really haven't lived enough. If I'm seen through in school, I'm 100% sure that I'll be torn to pieces by your crazy fans. Besides, am I very familiar with you? You don't even give me money. Why would I risk my life to be a tour guide for you?" I suddenly decided not to go back to school. The CET4 exam is nothing great. If I can't pass, then I can't pass. I plan to go to the newly built amusement park in the south of the city alone to make up for my incomplete and empty childhood. Qin Guang thought in his heart, I don't believe that if I say I want to go to a place with a sea of people like the amusement park, you two big stars who know everyone will still dare to follow me? Unexpectedly, Jiang Yage shook her head again and took out a full set of equipment from the back seat of the car. From a veil to sunglasses to a sun hat to a wig, she really had everything. Her equipment was comparable to that of Agent 007. That's fine too. The amusement park is more interesting than walking around the university campus. Brother Qingguang, can you lead the way? Jiang Yage continued to pester. Jin Shuiwei, who was at the side, couldn't take it anymore and poked Jiang Yage's thigh with all her might, telling her to restrain herself and not to really annoy them. Qin Guang's attitude was already so obvious, he clearly didn't want to be with the two of them. Go on and celebrate. Qin Guang had always thought that the thickness of his skin was definitely at the level of a master. The old man had roamed the world for many years and had never been defeated. He relied on his thick skin and strong defense. Even if he was shuttling back and forth between swords and knives, relying on this incomparably thick skin, the old man could always turn misfortunes into blessings. Never would he have thought that today the old man would actually meet such a tyrannical and terrifying opponent on the road of shamelessness. It's my loss. The old man admitted defeat. Yage, to tell you the truth, it's not that I'm deliberately being arrogant and unappreciative. I'm really grateful for the appreciation of the two of you. As a student, to be able to obtain the friendship of the two of you is something that I've always dreamed of. But Qin Guang decided to lay his cards on the table. Chapter 95. Taking a deep breath, Qin Guang made up his mind and continued, I really don't have the courage to stroll on the streets with the two of you. I don't need to say it. You know how influential you are in the country. Out of 10 people on the streets, at least 3 or 4 people know the two of you, right? Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage looked at each other and nodded helplessly. Qin Guang was speaking the truth. Ever since they became famous, the two of them had to wrap themselves up tightly every time they went out on the streets, living like thieves. But they were still seen through from time to time, or paparazzi secretly took photos. It made the two of them miserable, but they couldn't do anything about it. Qin Guang continued, that's it. If I were to appear with the two of you, and if someone found out and took a photo and posted it on the internet, I'll give others the title of my right-hand man meeting his best friend. How can I live my life peacefully in the future? Last time, I had already turned into Underwear Superman because of the two of you. But at least I managed to protect my face. I can't take it again. Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage also knew about the Underwear Superman that Qin Guang mentioned. They even looked at the photo in private and felt their hearts turn red. Especially Jiang Yage. She even downloaded the photo to her phone. Seeing the two of them nod again, Qin Guang continued, since the two of you are celebrities, it's understandable for you to lose some of your privacy as celebrities. But I'm just an innocent student. Can you do me a favor and not drag me down with you? The enemy was too thick-skinned. Even if Qin Guang didn't want to say it so bluntly, he had no other choice. He felt that since he had said it to this extent, they probably wouldn't be friends in the future. Although he was mentally prepared, he still felt melancholy when he thought of this. What a good opportunity. If he could become friends with his right-hand man, even if he went back to his hometown and took a photo with him in front of his friends, it would be great to brag about it. Unfortunately, Jiang Yage was a poisonous person. He had to stay away from her. No. In the face of Qin Guang's tearful and earnest request, Jiang Yage's answer was straightforward and without the slightest hesitation. Qin Guang was dumbfounded. F***CK heroine, why don't you play by the rules? It's so tiring to communicate with you. What the hell do you want? No matter what you say, I won't listen to you today. We're definitely following you today. Don't worry, big sister Shuiwei and I will be very, very, very careful. We will absolutely not expose our identities and harm you. Jiang Yage immediately put on a rascally look, a very playful smile on her face. I'll tell you something, you can make a decision after you hear it. Just now I saw a photo on your phone. It was the armor you wore when you were filming. Qin Guang's heart skipped a beat. He began to panic. So what? Probably before you decided to come over, we saw the same photo on the other person's phone. It was exactly the same, there was no difference at all. It was Brother Hu's phone from the props team. There's an iris flower company in Wujing City. They said they had a set of armor they wanted to rent to the film crew, so they sent the photo to Brother Hu. Big Brother Qin Guang, I really feel very puzzled. Why is the same photo in your phone as well as Iris Flower Company's and Brother Who's phones? Tell me what's the connection between the two? With Jiang Yage's intelligence, how could she not guess the whole story? Her biggest reliance was this. Qin Guang's mouth was wide open as he stared blankly at this woman. He would never have thought that there would be such a coincidence. How you Kai? Brother how? You tricked me. Seeing that he was stunned, Jiang Yage continued, Big brother Qin Guang, tell me if your uncle knew that you almost sold his armor, how upset and disappointed would he be? Here it comes. I knew it would be like this. She really wanted to threaten the old man. This woman was really shameless. Despicable. Seeing that Qin Guang was so angry that his face was about to turn red, Jiang Yage stopped talking in time and winked at Jin Shiyue. She was hinting to Jin Shiyue to quickly come out and mediate the relationship between the two sides. Jin Shiyue glared at Jiang Yage and said to Qin Guang, don't listen to Solomon. She is just joking with you. I think there must be some misunderstanding in this matter. You are definitely not a person who can do that kind of thing. It is also because the two of us are really not familiar with Wujing City, so we thought of troubling you. I know that our request will indeed bring you some trouble, but you can rest assured that we will not let you be our tour guide for nothing. Qin Guang covered his face and thought to himself, I really thank you for thinking so highly of me. Unfortunately, the old man really wanted to sell this armor, but he was good at math and knew that 100,000 was more than 50,000. How shameful. Also, Jin Shiyue, if you really want to give me a reward, then you should be straightforward and give me a price. As long as it is 20,000 yuan, let alone 20,000 yuan. Even if I have to sacrifice my life and shed my blood, I will go crazy with you. But why are you always so hesitant and secretive? How am I supposed to trust you all? What if you want to sign a check later, and Jiang Yage jumps out and grabs it, saying irresponsible things like don't tarnish friendship with money? Who can I find to reason with? Well, now that things have come to this, you have forced me. The old man can only use his last trump card. Of the 36 stratagems, running away is the best plan. That's right. Adhering to the principle that a shameless person is invincible, Qin Guang planned to run away without saying a word. As for the photos on his phone, he would find a chance to delete them later. He would not admit it even if he was beaten to death. If you want to go to Big Beard Deng and accuse me, then go ahead. Dead men tell no tales anyway. Seeing that Qin Guang was deep in thought and silent, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were a little nervous. They did not know what he was thinking at the moment. Jiang Yage did not need to say much. Although Jin Shiyue did not want to admit it, she had the same thoughts as Jiang Yage. Brother Qin Guang, why are you still not willing to agree? What are you worried about? Jiang Yage felt that she was about to break down. She could not be blamed. Ever since they became famous, the two women on his left and right had actually lost the most common life experience for ordinary people, which was friends. The two of them really did not have the chance to be like ordinary people and make some real, innocent friends. The people around the two of them were either some stinky men with evil intentions, entrepreneurs who had something to ask of them, or people in the same industry like Big Beard Deng or Zhouya. On top of that, the two of them had unique family backgrounds, which further led to them not having any normal experience getting along with people. Jiang Yage had repeatedly made mistakes when it came to getting along with Qin Guang, causing Qin Guang to misunderstand her more and more. Qin Guang had already placed his hand on the car key. He was ready to take advantage of the two women's unpreparedness to start the engine and run away. He turned to look at Jiang Yage with a sincere expression. No, I'm not worried or afraid of anything. I just feel that I haven't lived long enough. After saying that, he really started the engine and was about to run away. We'll leave just like that. You leave, I leave, we'll all leave. Right at that moment. However, Jiang Yage pounced on Jin Shiyue and pressed down on top of her. She stuck her head out of the passenger window and shouted at the top of her lungs, Brother Qin Guang, don't go. I like you. I really like you. Qin Guang was stunned and did not care about her. Don't lie to me even though I'm not well educated. I almost believed you. Boom. He stepped on the accelerator and the old man left first. Chapter 96. Towards Jiang Yage's confession, Qin Guang only wanted to say 3 simple words, hee hee. I'm not a 3-year-old brat, how can I believe in a fairy tale like love at first sight? And the other party is you, Jiang Yage? Don't joke around, didn't Yang Shi already say it? Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue are the rare acting masters among the young actors. Her every expression, every action, even if it looks sincere, it's definitely acting. As for Jin Shiyue's personality, Qin Guang felt that he might not be able to see through it, but Jiang Yage is really too obvious. She's an immature woman who likes to play pranks, but has mastered a very abnormal acting skill, a terrifying woman. It's impossible for her to fall in love with me just because I saved her life. She's definitely just trying to tease me. First, she didn't give me any remuneration, then in front of so many people in the crew, she inexplicably declared her sovereignty over me, causing those little female stars who are beautiful enough to make old man drool to keep a respectful distance from me. She helped me get my phone and she even used it to blackmail me. This woman is too unreliable, too sinister and vicious. I'm your savior, how can you try to hurt my fragile little heart time and time again? Humph, trying to trick me? No way. Misunderstanding is really a very scary thing. At least, Qin Guang already sees Jiang Yage as a snake, afraid that it's too late to avoid her. Seeing that Qin Guang's car has already sped away, Jin Shiyue and Jin Shiyue were dumbfounded. The two of them looked at each other and it was still Jin Shiyue who spoke first. See? You scared him to this extent. What should we do now? We said that we should thank him, but in the end, we didn't even get to give him the money, and he ran away in fear. Jiang Yage sat down and quickly fastened her seatbelt. Hey Sister Shiyue, why don't you be the judge? Was my confession not sincere enough? How did he scare me away? I can't accept a failed confession like this. This is a little different from what was written in the scripts of the TV dramas we acted in the past. Shouldn't he be so touched that he clutched his chest and had difficulty breathing? I really can't figure it out, I'm not convinced. Sister Shiyue, fasten your seatbelt. You want to run? No way. I don't agree. While speaking, Jiang Yage suddenly stepped on the accelerator, and the red Ferrari 488 rushed out like a red lightning, chasing after Qin Guang. Just as the two of them started their Ferraris, Zhou Yun was driving her Volkswagen out of the parking lot. When she saw this scene, her legs immediately turned to jelly. My two grandaunts, are you trying to kill this pitiful manager of yours? Oh my god. Zhou Yun felt like slitting her neck and hanging herself when she thought about how the news of two goddesses racing on the streets would be on the headlines of all the major newspapers, magazines, and online media the next morning. Forget it, things have already gotten out of control. I have to report this to the two young masters' families, or the consequences will be unimaginable. As for Qin Guang, he drove out of the film city briskly. His heart finally felt at ease. He finally escaped from the clutches of Jiang Yage. Wujing Film City was built in the eastern suburbs of Wujing City, about 20 kilometers away from the city. Coming out of the film city, the direct road to the city was the similarly newly built Dongxin Avenue. It was a two-way four-lane road with a pure asphalt surface. Currently, the traffic flow was still relatively low, and the speed limit was 80 kilometers per hour. It was a good road for driving. Want to kill me? Not so easy. Qin Guang whistled, holding the plate in one hand, and the escaped from death, heavenly holy grail in the other. He took a sip of tea and was in a good mood. At this moment, he suddenly heard the loud roar of an engine behind him. He tilted his head, looked into the rearview mirror, and was so scared that he peed his pants. Director, can I say dirty words? Can't I? Then I have nothing to say. Is this woman Jiang Yage sick? Can you at least show some of the modesty of a star? Don't make life difficult for a small character like me, okay? I've already King driven away. Why are you still racing to chase me? At this moment his cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was an unfamiliar number. When he answered, it was actually Jin Shiyue's voice. Qin Guang, I'm really sorry. She's stubborn. She said that she'll follow you wherever you drive today. I can't persuade her. By the way, there's a highway cafe at the intersection not far ahead. It's opened by our friend. It's very private and we won't be disturbed or photographed. How about we drink coffee and chat in that cafe? Jin Shiyue's tone was full of helplessness. Qin Guang's face darkened. Follow wherever I drive? What a great shame. I'm the dignified 13th Wang of the Second Ring Road. I only need 13 minutes to run through the Wujing Second Ring Road. You actually dare to challenge me. Qin Guang was angry. Don't even think about following me. He slammed the accelerator, determined to get rid of Jiang Yage. As for the coffee that Jin Shiyue said, I'm really sorry, but there's only tea in my dictionary. A minute later, 13th Wang, Qin Guang's career as a racing god came crashing down. Director, I'm going to get my lunch. This woman is cheating. I'm a broken Hyundai Rena. How can I race with a Ferrari 488? I'll use my head. It's this Dongxin Avenue that everyone can run freely on. Even if I blast the Rena's engine until it's smoking, it can't be compared to someone who steps a little harder on the gas when they sneeze. At this time, Qin Guang felt like a non-cash player playing a web-based game. He was online for 20 hours a day. Even when he went to sleep, he set the alarm clock to rob the game. However, the other party was a big R who spent hundreds of thousands of yuan. No matter how hard he tried, he was still beaten to death by the other party. She's completely bullying me. My ride is a mixed donkey that's on the verge of death. Your ride is a flaming rabbit that steps on colorful auspicious clouds. There's no way for us to play happily. Jiang Yage was indeed very satisfied at this time. She drove the car leisurely next to Chen Guang. This woman even put down the hood of the car. From time to time she would throw a smug wink at Chen Guang. Everything has its vanquisher. If Chen Guang behaved like those perverted men and tried to get close to her, she wouldn't be able to do anything to Chen Guang. Perhaps Jiang Yage would really look down on Chen Guang and casually throw him 100,000 yuan to end their fate. But Chen Guang wasn't that kind of person at all. In Jiang Yage's eyes, he was so strong without desire, so special. Whether it was the strength he showed when he braced himself to act, the dazzling brilliance when he became the best actor, or the calmness and respectful distance when facing her and Jin Shiyue, the two big stars, it made the image of Chen Guang's brother become even bigger in Jiang Yage's heart. Well, in fact, Jiang Yage didn't know that the reason why Master Chen Guang was so unhappy with her was because she didn't give money. Could it be that I really have to go for afternoon tea with them? Can I think of a way to use words to force them to give me money to play with them? It seems a bit difficult. After all, the old man is a good young man with 3 values. He wouldn't do such a shameless thing. Then Jiang Yage ruthlessly stabbed him. Sister Shiyue, don't talk nonsense. I'm not going to drink afternoon tea. It's too boring. I want to go to the amusement park with brother Chen Guang. Get lost. Chen Guang hung up the phone, tears streaming down his face. No, I can't get rid of her. Chen Guang took his hand to the cup holder. Now that it's come to this, I can only use plan B. Drink some water to calm my nerves and see if I can summon Shinran at the right time. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's this familiar feeling. Oh yeah, my cup world. It's coming. Chapter 97. When Chen Guang drank the water, he felt the familiar feeling of the world spinning. He was indeed about to be pulled into the world in the cup again. Wait, didn't I just use hypnosis today? Just now, Emperor of the Azure was about to go berserk. Didn't she say that the preparation for the world in the cup was not complete? Now it had shrunk even further. There was no reason for it to come so quickly. In addition, the old man was holding the steering wheel with one hand and drinking water from the cup with the other. Sister, I am the savior. I can do whatever I want. You are the God Emperor. You have to have your own principles of being a god. Don't go overboard. With a flash, Chen Guang had once again appeared in the familiar sky above the sea of clouds. Not daring to be careless, Chen Guang was on full alert. The first thing he did was to get into a fighting stance. He carefully looked around and was ready to guard against Emperor of the Azure's sneak attack. This karma came too quickly. Chen Guang was very nervous. God knew what surprise that woman would prepare for him as a greeting gift. After waiting for a long time, the expected sneak attack did not appear. Chen Guang was puzzled. Did Emperor of the Azure change her personality? She suffered such a big loss in my hands just now. She didn't even use her fists to have a friendly conversation with me? Just a little bit unaccustomed to it? Damn it. Not good. I feel like she is going to beat me into AM. I have to go see a psychiatrist later. I feel like I can still be saved. Speaking of which, what was I doing just now? If this is really the world in the cup, what ability will it train me? Driving? That's right. The old man, 13th Wang of the second ring, was actually beaten by a cash player who relied on the performance of a Ferrari 488. The old man lost unjustly. Therefore, the world in the cup this time must be to train the old man's driving skills. That's right. I, 13th Wang of the second ring, am going to evolve into 13th Wang of the round city. 60 kilometers. I'm afraid I have to fly, right? Forget it. This is not important. Don't worry about the details. More importantly, as long as it was a skill that had been trained in the world in a cup, it would definitely be very good. Jiang Yage, just you wait. I'll let you be cocky for another 5 seconds. I'll let you know right away that in front of true godlike driving skills, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Koenigsegg, and Bugatti Veyron are all useless. Wow, the old man was on guard day and night, afraid that the cup world would appear at any time and cause me some trouble. Entering the world in a cup while taking a dump and becoming the king of anal prolapse was especially scary. But now the driving skill was definitely useful. Come on. The heavenly holy grail. Come on. Colored glass female rogue. Come on. World in a cup. Lead me to the path of the strongest god of racing in history. I'm going to conquer MT Akina. Need for Speed, Fast and Furious, Ridge Racing, they're all trash. Brother, I want to become the best racing god in real life. Strange, why hasn't this woman moved yet? I let my guard down because of my imagination. She should have taken action long ago. Hey, Lioli, what are you doing? Is this world in a cup ready or not? Qin Guang yelled at the top of his lungs. If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. If the enemy doesn't move, I'll move. If you don't appear, I'll take advantage of you. Let's see how long you can hold it in. Qin Guang. You bastard. Finally, the familiar voice of Emperor of the Azure appeared not far in front of him. Qin Guang followed the voice and took a few steps forward. The next second he almost spat out his laughter. My Emperor Lioli, what's wrong with you? Is it very popular among the gods in the endless god realm to plant themselves in the soil for no reason? Is it like planting a god in the spring and harvesting a nest of gods in the autumn? It turned out that Emperor of the Azure's entire body was buried in the sea of clouds. Only her head was exposed. She was planted in the soil. Qin Guang walked forward proudly. Although he didn't know what happened to her, she seemed to be in a bad situation. As her savior, what should I do when my god emperor is in trouble? Of course, I'll take the opportunity to finish her off. While she's sick, I'll take her life. If I let go of such a rare opportunity, I won't be the good young man of the new generation. Qin Guang. Qin Guang. Don't come over. I have good news and bad news for you. If you dare to do anything to me, I'll only tell you the bad news. Emperor of the Azure panicked. This is all because of you. In order to hypnotize you and make you a best actor, I'll give it my all. Now that the lustrous feather raiment is gone, if I don't bury myself in the sea of clouds and hide my body, won't I explode all 3 points? The heaven-defying river crab mythological beast will take your life. Qin Guang grinned. Oh my, I'm so touched that my eyes are brimming with tears. Thank you for your kind intentions. Thinking about it carefully, this god emperor was really pitiful. She followed her savior and changed from a flying goddess to a bikini. Now she even degenerated into a human tree. Other people's golden fingers grew stronger and stronger with the protagonist, becoming more and more cool and heaven-defying. But this golden finger of his was getting worse and worse. Now even her clothes were taken off. Anyone who saw it would be sad. Wait, speaking of which, the world in the cup will shrink like Lioli's clothes? The old man began to panic. All right. Say it. I won't come over. Qin Guang nodded. Look at my eyes. How sincere. If I say I won't come over, I won't come over. Lioli glared at him. Let me tell you. Don't think that I'm hiding my body because I'm afraid you'll take advantage of me. It's for your own good. I'm afraid you'll court death. On the surface, this empress's lustrous feather raiment may look like a cover for me, but it's actually to protect a mortal's fragile divine soul. Back then, this empress only revealed a little of my god emperor's true body, and your mind almost collapsed. Without the cover of the lustrous feather raiment, if you accidentally saw this empress's true body, the consequences would be unimaginable. I'm not bragging. In the endless god realm, all existences below the god-king level will be killed by this empress's true body, never to be reincarnated. Qin Guang's heart trembled. He believed her words. All right. Don't waste your breath. Don't worry. I really won't come over. I'll just sit here and listen to you. I won't foolishly court death. Hurry up and tell me the good news and the bad news first. Lioli was really afraid that he would be so lustful to come over and lift the sea of clouds to take a look. Seeing that he believed her, she was relieved. Of course, she talked so much nonsense just to buy time. After a while, the realm within the cup would almost take the initiative to pull Qin Guang in. The good news is that because the realm within the cup has shrunk further, the amount of work needed to prepare the realm within the cup has been reduced again. So this time, you've indeed taken advantage of it and summoned the realm within the cup in advance. Emperor of the Azure said heavily. Qin Guang's eyelids twitched. Then the bad news is that the situation of the shrinking is very serious? Emperor of the Azure looked at Qin Guang darkly. That's right. Very serious. It's beyond your imagination. Even if you don't die this time, you'll still lose a layer of skin. Anyway, this empress just added a few things in. It can barely save your life. As for the rest, I don't care. Congratulations, you've successfully become the king of courting death in the endless god realm's long history of billions and billions of years. You're really capable. Chapter 98. Emperor of the Azure only felt that it was a pity. She originally planned to give this grandson a good beating, but she didn't expect the world and cup to come so fast that she was caught off guard. How long had it been since she used her hypnosis technique, and the lustrous feather robe couldn't even condense a piece of cloth the size of a fingernail. It was really shameful. As for what she said earlier about how Qin Guang couldn't look at the God Emperor's real body, well, she was afraid of being hurt by her own eyes, so she deliberately talked nonsense to fool Qin Guang. In short, she couldn't beat him up today, but the power of the world and cup would definitely be able to teach this reckless brat a profound lesson. This emperor must let him know why the flowers are so red. Alright, you've told me the good and bad news, right? There's nothing else, right? I should be waiting to enter the world and cup now, right? Qin Guang slowly stood up, his eyes flashing with a dangerous light. Liuli's heart thumped. It's thick. Such a dangerous look. This guy is courting death. Sure enough, Qin Guang smiled and took 2 more steps back. Then he took off his shoes. It was a pity that he didn't bring steel beads with him, or else glass beads would have been good. Forget it, anyway these 2 pairs of shoes should be enough. You better be more like it. Emperor of the Azure had already guessed Qin Guang's plan, and her face flushed red with anger. She only hated that she couldn't rush up and beat him to death. Qin Guang's mouth crooked. Oh yo, you're angry? But even if you burst your lungs and shout until your throat breaks in this world and cup, there's no one who can help you. As soon as his voice fell, Qin Guang had already thrown out his shoes, swaying as it flew towards Emperor of the Azure's head. Emperor of the Azure finally raised her jade arm that was hidden in the sea of clouds, blocking Qin Guang's flying shoes. Oh, you have a way. But you're not good enough. Take my shoe god's kill number 2. Qin Guang was extremely cocky, and threw out the second shoe at lightning speed. It was when Emperor of the Azure had just blocked the first shoe and hadn't had the time to withdraw her hand. In martial arts this was called old strength used up, but new strength was not born. When Liuli wanted to take out a second hand, she was already a step too late, and the sole of the shoe hit her forehead. Exploded, completely exploded. Qin Guang felt indescribably refreshed when he saw that she had slapped his face. Although this woman had helped him a lot, he couldn't live with his conscience if he didn't do something when he thought about how he would be tortured by her every time he entered the intermediate realm. This was already the 3rd time today. Even if he knew that he was playing with fire, he couldn't stop his burning heart from seeking death. Emperor of the Azure glared at Qin Guang. She grabbed his shoes with both hands and wiped the dust off her face. She wanted to throw the shoes back, but she suddenly had an idea and didn't do so. She just looked at him fiercely. I'll let you be happy for a few more seconds. You'll soon know how stupid it was to throw a shoe at me. Looking at her expression, it seemed that she had him in the bag. Qin Guang's heart skipped a beat. Something's wrong. I seem to have forgotten something important. *CK. Since this is a cup to train my driving skills, if I don't have shoes, won't I be stepping on the brake and accelerator barefoot? Something big happened. Sister Liuli, can we talk nicely? Qin Guang immediately put on a flattering smile and looked in Liuli's direction. Why don't you come and try? I can crush you into bone dregs with one hand. Liuli said with a fake smile. Qin Guang didn't dare to go over. He really didn't dare. Liuli knew that he didn't have the guts to come up and court death. She simply closed her eyes and put Qin Guang out of sight and out of mind. Her heart was also desolate. How blind was I to be able to pick so many people and finally choose this cheater? This must be the stupidest and most wrong decision I've ever made in my long life. On the other side, Qin Guang saw that he couldn't get his shoes back. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and wait for the cup to be completely activated. Then he dragged his head in. Wandering in the colorful time-space channel, Qin Guang carried out a deep thought about the future and finally came to a conclusion. He was a little flustered. He broke through the wall of the channel. The next moment, Qin Guang was shocked. He learned something new. So the cup can be played like this? For a moment, Qin Guang burst into tears. My imagination is still not rich enough. He was really ashamed. The old man really didn't expect that there was something below the realm of the health pod. It was called the custom-made, transformable health pod. It turned out that the cup could be so advanced that it even had a transformation function. How considerate and modern. Forget it. At least it's not a shrinking coffin that can only hold half a body, and it's not an urn. Thinking about it this way, it's not completely unacceptable with my current behavior. At this time, Qin Guang was almost sitting like a driver. The space he was in could be said to be a car. Well, it was not a complete car. In a rough description, he was sitting in the driver's seat of an Alto, happily eating hot pot while driving. Then, an incomparably sharp giant knife fell from the sky and cut right in the middle of the alto. Thus, this unlucky old alto was cut in half from the middle. The knife was taken away, and the back half of the alto was swallowed by an unknown void beast. Only Qin Guang, who was sitting in the driver's seat, was left with half of his car. There was no one else who could cut corners like this. Well, Qin Guang couldn't open the door. He didn't know if there was really a car outside. Anyway, he couldn't get out. He guessed that the body of the alto was equivalent to the edge of the cup. Behind him was a void. Yes, it was the colorful splendor in the space channel. Based on the relationship between Schrödinger and his cat, let's pretend that there really were two wheels on the ground outside. Maybe there really was an engine or some other power assembly under what looked like an engine cover. Who knows? Who cares? Anyway, this car can actually be ignited. Your half-built car can even be ignited. Perhaps, the meaning of the cup was to let me use this half of the car to practice invincible driving skills? Once I accepted the strange setting of the two front wheels being able to run, the experience of the cup this time wasn't that bad. But why is my car a little strange? No matter how I look at it, I feel like I'm in an 8-bit racing game I played when I was a child. The trees and the road outside, why do they all look like pixel mosaics? Wait, my front windshield, my gear lever, my accelerator, brake and clutch pedals, and that completely pixel version of the dashboard in the middle, what's going on? Oh right, my driver's seat and rearview mirror, and my poor passenger seat, they're all pixelated versions. Is there a car CD? Qin Guang decided to give it a try and then he broke down. This familiar music reminded him of his broken childhood. F***ck, it really is the soundtrack of an 8-bit game. But this wasn't what made him break down the most. He finally understood why Lu Li said that the cup this time would be worse than the Mosaic Nutrition Pod. He saw his own pixelated fingers. What kind of a scam was this? I've become AF** King Mosaic. What else in this world could be worse than becoming a mosaic? Chapter 99. Today, Qin Guang had a whole new understanding of the shrinking ability of the world in a cup. I've crossed mountains and seas and I've also passed through mountains and seas of people. Everything I once had has become a mosaic in the blink of an eye. Such an encounter reminded Qin Guang of a game he had played a long time ago. It was called My World. Yup, it was a game where pixelated people would seek death in a pixelated world. It was very interesting. At that time, Qin Guang had even gone to a video website called Bilibili to learn the correct way to start the game. He had also spent 700 to 800 hours criticizing this kind of low-quality game. But when it really happened to him, he just wanted to yell out in a serious tone, "This is not interesting at all. See, this is the result of your own actions, you little death-seeking expert. If you didn't force me to help you twice, you would have a beautiful lakeside villa this time. Now that the situation is like this, don't blame the heavens and others, just accept your fate. You have to know that the Holy Grail had originally prepared a set of armor for you. It was the kind that would allow you to maintain the driving position forever, but you would not be able to move up, down, left, or right. Although it looked exquisite, it was not as spacious as a coffin. I spent a lot of effort to dilute the energy of the world in a cup this time, but I barely managed to create half a car for you. As for the image quality, just bear with it and it will be over." Azure's voice sounded. Qin Guang wiped away the mosaic tears. "I really have to thank you for saving my life." He roughly imagined the situation that Azure had described and only felt his hair stand on end. If that was really the case, he was dead for sure. This was definitely 10,000 times scarier than being confined in the army. Although it was very bad now, at least he could move his hands and feet a little. Let me tell you the requirements of this test. Just as you guessed, this is a world that is very similar to the racing games you have played before. Your task is very simple. Drive this broken little car and overcome all the obstacles. As long as you can successfully pass the 9th stage before the car crashes and you die 100 times, you will have completed the test. Qin Guang laughed as he replied, "That's simple. For 13th Wang of the second ring, was this not like playing house? I'm good at games too." Seeing that he was still acting recklessly, Lu Li hurriedly reminded him, "Don't be in such a hurry to be complacent, you'd better be more serious. If you fail, you will really die. I can't save you either. Similar to the transient sea, you can revive with full health after dying 99 times, but you will really die the last time. I'm not joking with you. The previous Dota test was just continuous training." Even though it was a little hard, tiring, and insane, there was no risk of dying. The driving test this time had returned to the style of the instantaneous sea. If you lost, you would die. Chen Guang's expression became serious as he nodded heavily. Don't worry. I'm born with a feeling for driving. I won't go overboard. After all, it's 100 revival chances. It's the same as the instantaneous see, I know it. Seeing that he had become serious, Lu Li's heart relaxed slightly. She didn't say anything more. Okay then, you're on your own. Good luck. The first test was to reach the first speed test point in front of them within 5 minutes and maintain a speed of no less than 120 km per hour when passing through the speed test point. No problem. Chen Guang's pixel face smiled confidently. He extended his pixel legs forward, pressed down on the pixel clutch, put on the pixel gear lever and roared on the accelerator. The pixel car began to move. Seeing the pixel road in front of him continuously recede, there was no need to mention how good it felt. On the other hand, Chen Guang was leisurely. He was even in the mood to examine the trees by the side of the road. He found that these trees looked very similar to the tea leaves he had soaked in. He couldn't help but think to himself, if one day I changed my cup to coffee, what would it be like? When he thought of the color of the coffee, it would be slightly scary if he was trapped by the yellow lake. It was at this moment that the car shook violently. At the same time, another pixel car sped past his car. The window of that car was rolled down, and the pixel person in the driver's seat seemed to be looking at Chen Guang with disdain. As for Chen Guang, after the car was hit, he completely flipped over after losing control of it. *CK. It turns out that there's an opponent in this cup world who's playing dirty tricks. Fortunately, I won't die from this degree of flipping over, right? Chen Guang tried to open the car door and think of a way to straighten the car, but he heard the dull and ear-piercing roar of a loudspeaker. He turned his head to look and saw a pixel car that was at least 10 times the size of an Alto speeding along the road. Don't think about getting lucky. The real cup world is only as big as your car. What you see outside is equivalent to the image in the game. Do you think you can get out of your car when you play a racing game? You can't open the door. Lu Li's voice rang out at the wrong time, strangling Chen Guang's last hope. *CK. Flipping over is equivalent to death. Chen Guang burst into tears. The old man died such an unjust death. The pixel car whizzed past, and the main character fell from the three-dimensional world to the two-dimensional world. Simply put, he was flattened. This experience reminded Chen Guang of the almost forgotten Sea of Time. At that time he also got stabbed when he popped out. *CK. This racing god world isn't any better. It's poisonous. The test of the cup world had always been full of malice. The first time a car crash and a person's death came so violently. The scene flashed and Chen Guang returned to the starting point. All the bones in his body were in so much pain that they were about to fall apart. He couldn't accept it. The old man had become a pixel person, so why was the pain still so real? No, if he was really flattened by a heavy truck, he would have been sent to heaven in an instant. There was no reason for it to be so painful. Could it be that I added something to this cup world? As he expected, Lu Li showed up again. Right, I forgot to tell you that I feel that your willpower is still rather weak. Therefore, in order to improve your willpower, I probably increased the normal pain in the intermediate realm a little bit just to improve your willpower. Wasn't it very considerate of me to do that? Lu Li was a bit surprised. You're right. How much is a little? 100%. Get lost. Chen Guang felt that the decision to throw the shoe at this woman before coming in was too wise. If he had known that she was so deceptive, he would have taken off his underwear and covered her head, letting her have a taste of that sour feeling. Well, no matter how deceptive it was, he had dripped his blood on this deceptive artifact that had recognized him as its master. He had to finish this test with tears in his eyes. Gritting his teeth, Chen Guang stepped on the accelerator again. Let's go. The old man was the man who wanted to become the strongest racing god. How could he fall at the first test? Chen Guang didn't expect that this was the beginning of his nightmare. Chapter 100. After a total of 13 failures, he finally completed the first test. It sounded simple, but his car was actually just a poor little Alto. Which normal person would drive this broken car at 120 km per hour? The steering wheel would start flying at 100 km per hour, and 120 km per hour was even better. Moreover, who knew if there would be any accidents when passing the speed test point? To maintain this speed steadily, he would have to accelerate to at least 130 km per hour. Fortunately, Chen Guang was not a normal person. He was the king of death in the long history of the endless celestial realm. People called him the super driver. Time and time again he lost control of the car and ran off the road. Sometimes he had already sped up to 130 kilometers per hour, only to be scratched or sent flying by a faster little B*TCH. The worst time was when the speed test point was right in front of him, but a heavy truck that had sped to 180 kilometers per hour caught up to him and ran over him. In the end, he failed on the verge of success. Your big truck really knows how to play. It can go 180 kilometers per hour. When I have money, I will definitely buy an Alto. I will modify it so much that it can't even beat a Bugatti Veyron. In any case, after going through all kinds of difficulties and dying 13 times, he finally passed the first test. After passing the test, he suddenly realized, oh, there are strengthening points? The second test seemed simple. Maintain a speed of 180 kilometers per hour for 20 seconds and survive. Qin Guang's face darkened. This broken Alto's top speed couldn't even reach 180 kilometers per hour, okay? Weight strengthening points? The old man understood. Fine, what control index, what car stability, what acceleration performance, all of that can be put aside for now. Focus on top speed. The old man was a godly person who wanted to accelerate the Alto to 180 kilometers per hour. It was just that the mission description seemed to be confusing. And survive seemed to have a deeper meaning behind it. Qin Guang really did not want to imagine how the Alto could float at 180 kilometers per hour. With a slight twist of the steering wheel, it could almost fly into the sky. As expected of the champion of the fancy-style death-seeking competition. Even though he was in such a terrible condition, he still managed to survive. How could an ordinary person become a top racer in the shortest amount of time? Apart from having an outstanding master guiding them, the most important factor was that they were not afraid of death. Daring to think, daring to do. Although the graphics quality of Pixel Racing God World was moving and the sound effects were terrible, the core function of driving was achieved to perfection. It looked like a game, but the actual driving feeling was no different from driving in real life. Other than that, the 9 stages that the Realm in the Cup had set for him were also very specific, and the difficulty was also increased step by step. He was tested from a different angle, forcing him to challenge his limits again and again in an Alto that had poor control. Before dying more than 90 times, Qin Guang was undoubtedly very courageous and capable. No matter how uncomfortable it felt to die each time, he knew that it was just an illusion. Anyway, he would soon be back to full health. It was just that the feeling of stepping on the clutch, brake and accelerator with his bare feet was a little painful. The skin on the soles of his feet would break after a few steps. At this time he was secretly glad that he was a pixel person, so he did not have to see such an ugly and bloody scene. Finally, when he drove the small, broken Alto that had all kinds of enhancements and competed with pixel people whose performance was equivalent to that of a professional team, he finished the last stage of the Dakar Rally and successfully won the championship. He won. He finally became the person on Earth who was the best at driving an Alto. At this time he had died exactly 95 times. It was easy to say, but he had died 95 times in a state of doubled pain. What did it feel like to die when the car was destroyed? How could it feel good? It was either being flattened or being knocked away. No matter which time it was so painful that it felt like dying and coming back to life. It was a feeling that he could not bear to recall. When Emperor of the Azure said that the doubled pain was to improve his willpower, Qin Guang expressed that he did not feel any improvement in his willpower. This only made the old man more and more afraid of death. Forget it. No matter how painful and difficult it was finally over. Qin Guang let out a long sigh of relief. He was free. He was a little drunk. As he poked his head out of the space-time tunnel, he thought to himself, why the hell do I have such a fate with the number 95? Am I born to be a 95? You are indeed the savior that I have chosen. You can even drive such a small, broken car perfectly. Needless to say, your own car is even better. What a brave young man. It's time to go out and show your amazing skills. As soon as Qin Guang poked his head out, he smelled a familiar sour smell. Then a pair of shoes hit his eyes. F***CK. You plotted against me? Qin Guang screamed. His eyes were blocked by the shoes, so he did not see anything and was kicked out of the cup by Lioli. I don't know how long I stayed in there this time. I'm driving outside. I don't want to go down the slope the moment I get out. The scene in front of him flashed and Qin Guang was sitting in the car again. He stared ahead and saw his car rushing straight to the side of the road along a diagonal line. The cup was still in his hand. Qin Guang was so shocked that he threw the cup to the side. He tapped on the brakes with the tip of his foot while fine-tuning the steering wheel. The old driver, Qin Guang, had rich experience in dealing with losing control of a car. The more critical the moment, the more he could not slam on the brakes. Otherwise, the car that could be controlled would completely lose control and skid due to the sudden brake failure, which would lead to more serious consequences. Of course, the degree of turning the steering wheel also required very precise control. If it was too much, the car would also skid. If it was too little, the direction would not be able to turn, and he would still crash into the side of the road. As a driver, in the face of danger, he had to make the most correct choice in the shortest time possible and put it into practice. He also had to use his hands, feet, eyes, and ears perfectly. The range of his movements was neither too big nor too small, and the degree of control was just right. Only then would he be able to turn the danger into a blessing. If it was the Chen Guang of the past, he would most likely be sent to the big repair shop with his car when he encountered such a situation. But today he was the man who was the best at driving an Alto on Earth. He could even drive an Alto that could go up to 300 kilometers per hour, so a mere modern Rena that could go up to 80 kilometers per hour was nothing. After losing control for a short while, his car drew a beautiful arc on the side of the road, and he was pulled back to the main road by a hair's breadth. He continued to speed along the main road. Chen Guang was more scared than hurt, but Jin Yu and Jiang Yu, who were following closely behind him, were scared out of their wits. They thought that he was so angry that he went crazy. Seeing that he had finally returned to normal with great difficulty, the two women felt relieved. Jin Shirue said nervously, "Yage, it seems that he really doesn't want to accompany us today. I also think that you're a little too impatient. Why don't we just forget about it today? Why don't we find another opportunity to talk to him about it?" Jiang Yage thought for a few seconds but shook her head. "Sister Shirue, I understand what you're saying. But look at how busy we are with work, flying around in the sky all day long. How can we have time to talk to him face to face? If we miss this opportunity today, we won't be able to resolve the misunderstanding. I think he will definitely see the two of us as scourges and fierce beasts in the future, and we won't even have time to hide from him." Jin Shirue didn't say anything else. She knew that what Jiang Yage said was the truth. She only sighed in her heart, and didn't know what exactly she was regretting. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.